The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking NETwork.
We would like to dedicate this episode 225 to the memory of producer Gary Kurtz, who passed away last Sunday.
Here is an excerpt from our discussion with Mr. Kurtz from our Star Wars 40th anniversary episode number 170, where he gives advice to budding filmmakers.
Mr. Kurtz, can you give some advice to anyone who wants to be a filmmaker or a producer today?
Well, I think that probably the biggest thing is to learn as much as you can about all aspects of filmmaking, and now it's quite easy to do that without going to film school and just practicing with the equipment. You could go out and shoot a 10-minute film in a weekend. I've judged several of the weekend challenges that have happened here, and some of the films are wonderful, really outstanding, and they've done a great job of shooting 5 to 10 minute piece in one day, and then editing it and putting sound effects and music in one day. And if you make 7 or 8 short films, it's like a portfolio of the kind of things you can do in a feature. No film that you make any length is going to turn out exactly as you wanted it. So it's you have to compromise on a lot of different areas, and so the great thing is that you can do that in making shorts and see how it works, because sometimes the results are much better than you anticipated, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're much worse than you anticipated. But you're going to get all kinds. And practicing on shorts is a great way to do it.
Are you ready?
Welcome to Neverland.
Here we go.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets lab.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never Land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! If you listen really closely, you'll hear a million voices cry out, why didn't we see Solo in the theater when we had the chance? Well, if you want Solo, then this is the place to be, and we want to welcome you all to Skywalking Through Neverland. We are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, and Marvel fandom.
So, Richard, this is why I have to turn this down between 6 and 7, because you get all excited.
Oh, I do.
And start being very loud.
Hence, the enthusiastic podcast destination. Now, I need to introduce myself.
Okay.
I am Richard Woloski, your tour guide through fandom. But now, everyone, please say hello to my sweetie wife, the Halloween homemaker, Sarah.
Yay! I'm the Halloween homemaker. I was a little housewife yesterday, and I made...
Well, not yesterday.
Well,
like an hour ago.
Today, Richard asked for, hey, can we have those pancakes for lunch? And I was like, pancakes? We have pumpkin pancakes. And we did.
The next hour, our kitchen just smelled of pumpkin. Something that Disney hasn't grasped yet.
Oh, I know. And you know what? The pumpkin, because we have the fun Williams-Sonoma pancake cutters, so our pancakes didn't look like round, boring pancakes. Oh, no.
No.
Our pancakes looked like Halloween jack-o'-lanterns and a Darth Vader and a bat and a ghost. Num, 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 num,
all right,
num,
now, before we make everyone on Facebook, the face huggers, hungry.
Yes, I think it's time to give a big Wookiee hug to our family of Skywalkers. Hopefully you're as full as we are right now. And we want to thank you for listening to the show every single week. And of course, we just gave a shout out to our face huggers who are watching live on Facebook right now. So if you hear us talking to people, that's who we're talking to. William and Matt and
Brian
Donald
Sims
and Brian and all the people watching. So we just love it, you guys, when you share our joy in this adventure through fandom.
Now, Sarah, do you know what this show really is?
What?
Well, this is our 5th year anniversary show.
It's not next week's show?
Well, when this show comes out, it'll be
Uh-huh.
like hours away from our
Oh.
September 27th anniversary. So maybe this is our pre-anniversary show.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I like it. It's kind of our, well, both of these shows will be like celebrating our 5th anniversary, I
I
think.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this will be our what do you call it? Like
Pre-anniversary?
a part 1 and a part 2 of our 5th year anniversary. How about
I like that.
So
I
this
like
is part 1.
All right. So happy anniversary.
Woohoo! 5
Skywalkers.
years. I know, 5 years. Can you believe it?
No.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
We did it!
Good job.
So we are recording this 5-year anniversary part 1 episode from Long Beach, California on September 21st, 2018.
And the time?
It's this many.
She's had 5 years to prepare for this. 5 years.
This many. It doesn't even do
You know what? I'm just gonna check my iPhone. All right, it's 1:47 in the PM. All right. No. You had your chance.
Here you go.
You had your chance.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's 1:47. Good afternoon.
All right, now coming up on this episode, we will be covering all the bonus features from the digital and Blu-ray release of Solo, a Star Wars story with special guest and Instagram BFF with Ron Howard, Lisa Dullard. And since our Skywalking Through Neverland website and network is quickly expanding, we want to introduce contributors. So later on, we will check in with Eric Onkenhaut.
Yes, he just wrote a review on Mur Lafferty's Solo, a Star Wars story novelization. And you can see it there on our website, skywalkingthroughneverland.com. And as we learn, he's got some Halloween articles coming up.
And we have shout-outs, a Skywalker of the Week. But right now, let's speak with Craig Miller about his friend and collaborator, producer Gary Kurtz, who we just lost last week. On our Star Wars 40th anniversary episode number 170, we were so honored to be joined by legendary producer Gary Kurtz. His appearance on that episode was made possible by Craig Miller, who worked publicity on Star Wars, and the two have become friends ever since.
Now, Craig Miller is here with us now to share some memories of Gary Kurtz.
Hey, Craig.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Oh, we were doing fine until we heard about the news
I know.
of the passing of Gary Kurtz, and that's one that you just weren't expecting.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate and very sad. Gary's very private, so he didn't let many people know. He's actually been ill for quite some time. As far back, at least a year, he's been undergoing a variety of treatments for cancer. And it just got really debilitating in the last weeks and months.
Well, the man has had definitely a very full life, making the biggest films of all time.
Absolutely.
And I know how instrumental he was in the making of Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back just by talking to him. But for those who have never met him personally, what should people know about this man?
Well, everyone who has met him and worked with him has, everyone's been saying things since he's passed, but these were all true even before. He was quiet. He was always gentle, a gentleman. He was always polite, always nice to people when they came up to him at a convention or anywhere. I've never known Gary to lose. I'm sure he's lost his temper, but never in a way where he, was yelling or abusive or anything. He was always, a really good guy. He was good to the people he knew and was friends with. I've worked with Gary off and on all this time. We still had a project we were working on together when this came about. He was just really, really good. He's the most knowledgeable producer I've ever worked with. I've worked on a lot of movies over the years, and he always knew the answer. He always knew how to get things done. And he always protected the production and the director and where it was going. He always saw that as part of his job as the producer.
As a film school student, I was always very inspired by Gary Kurtz because I would always read the making of the Star Wars films, and he was always there to solve any problem, no matter what department it was. Like with American Graffiti, they were having problems with the cameras, so he took them all back to his hotel room, took them all apart, put them all back together again, and back into unit photography they went. And hearing a story like that just makes you go, wow, I get so much to learn about everything, especially about becoming a master of all trades like this man.
Yeah, well, Gary really did know all this stuff. He came up through the ranks. He didn't just suddenly become a producer. He was a cameraman. He did lighting. He did sound. He started as a photographer, still photographer, and he was originally at USC studying music.
Oh, wow.
So, he has all of these experiences. He worked on a lot of low-budget movies in a lot of capacities well before he got into doing the things we know him for. If you look at his IMDb page, for example, you see all kinds of movies like Voyage to the Planet of Prehistoric Women and stuff like that. I think he was production manager on that.
Wow.
When you first met him while working on Star Wars, what was your first impression and how did that hold up?
Well, Gary comes across when you first meet him as very serious and very dry. Very knowledgeable, of course, but very serious. But you learn that he really does have a sense of humor. It's just not the, slap you on the shoulder and tell you a joke kind of sense of humor.
Yeah, it's almost like he needs to be comfortable with you first or something.
Yeah, but he's also, I think it's part of that private character is that he just isn't boisterous. He isn't, it isn't about making people laugh. I think I've told you before about the time he and I accidentally played a prank on Mark Hamill.
You did, but for those of these Skywalkers who haven't heard that, you want to retell it? It's hilarious.
Now that I've prompted you for that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, now you're kind of obligated.
Gotta remind us.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it really applies here. It was Christmas time of 1979, and we were having the Lucasfilm Christmas party in our recently moved into new building by Universal Studios. And we'd also just finished cutting the trailer for The Empire Strikes Back, the new trailer. And so we'd been running it for the people at the party, debuting it because it hadn't been in theaters yet. And Mark showed up a little late for the party. When he heard the new trailer was ready, he asked me if I could run it for him. So I took him into our conference room, which was right off the big atrium of the building where the party was going on. And I loaded it into the VCR in there. This is back in videotape days. And I turned off the lights and we ran the trailer. And if you remember, the trailer ends with the big lightsaber duel between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. And the trailer ends and I turn on the lights and Mark looks at me and just says, "You can't show that." And I was confused. I said, "What?" And he said, "You can't show that. People will think I died." And I was feeling a little impish, and so I said, "Well, Mark," at which point Gary, who neither of us had seen come into the conference room, walked up from the other end of the conference room and said, "Mark, I've been meaning to have a chat with you."
Oh, no.
And for just a brief moment, Mark his eyes went big and wide, and because he'd even said in interviews that he knew that it wasn't guaranteed that any of them would be there from one movie to another. It was set up that way. So it wasn't completely out of the question. And Gary is so serious and deadpan that when he said that, Mark completely believed it until neither Gary or I could keep a straight face any longer.
Nice.
And we all started laughing, but it wasn't intentional. It just sort of happened. But I mean, Gary was fine with going with it and doing that kind of gag. He did have a sense of humor. It just wasn't the big boisterous kind that you see with some people.
I'm guessing that would work really well with Mark Hamill, that kind of prank, but not on Harrison Ford. And I bet Carrie Fisher would even run with it, and to the point where she would go tell the media, "Hey, guess what I just heard?"
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Harrison would have been fine. He just would have had a stronger reaction when he realized we were kidding.
Yeah.
And stronger language?
Perhaps.
Oh, man. Well, we know that Gary Kurtz, he's attended many celebration conventions. Now, did you ever speak to him about his experiences and maybe what he thought of, like, kind of the legacy of Star Wars now?
Well, I mean, we didn't speak about any of those things directly. I mean, he's been going to conventions and talking to fans since before Star Wars first opened. He was at the World Science Fiction Convention in 1976 to help promote Star Wars. And so he was talking to fans even then. And he enjoyed talking to fans and, having conversations with them. And he'd give them, straight answers when they asked him questions. I think he enjoyed hearing what people had to say. And I think he was as surprised as anyone at the longevity of Star Wars and the emotional bond it has with so many people.
Right.
No one could have guessed at that all those years ago. And I'm sure he was very pleased about it, that, things he had done, things he had worked on, and worked hard to make good. For him, it wasn't just a job. It was a responsibility to do whatever he worked on and make it as best as he could make it. So I think he was really pleased with that kind of response.
One of my greatest memories of Gary Kurtz, other than talking with him on our show, and once again, Craig, a billion thanks for that fandom highlight, was when we were at Celebration Force, Sarah, and they had a special VIP lounge where if you paid a little bit extra, you could go in there and relax, and every once in a while, someone from Star Wars would pop in. And Gary Kurtz popped in one day, and he sat right in the middle of the room, and there must have been at least 200 people in that room clinging onto every single word he said because it was so fascinating. And plus, he was so soft-spoken that no one in that room dared to make a sound or breathe in fear they might miss a word. And I really wish I got that on video. Remember when John Williams had turned around at Celebration Orlando?
Oh yeah, and shushed
everyone, and the whole room just quieted down.
Yeah,
it was like that. No one would peep a word, and he was so soft spoken, but yet he commanded the room, and that spoke volumes to me. But then again, I don't have that talent to speak softly.
No.
But I admire him for being able to do that.
To draw people in that way.
Yeah. Now, let's go back to what you had said in the beginning of this conversation, that you two were working on some projects. And I know he had told us a couple of tidbits when we were talking with Gary on our 40th anniversary special for Star Wars. But can you tell us about those projects and maybe where they stand now?
Well, both projects are still ongoing. The biggest one was a film called Christopher Marlowe, which is about the poet, playwright, contemporary of Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, who was additionally a spy for Queen Elizabeth. That's Queen Elizabeth I, of course, and was involved with stopping the Spanish Armada, all kinds of activities. Queen Elizabeth had a big spy network, and he was one of the more active spies working there. And so this is really, while it depicts him in his role and life as a poet and playwright, it's mainly about him, the man, and him, the spy. And Gary was producing that film. And we're still moving forward with that. It's still in the development phase, casting and getting the rest of the funding in place. And it's been decided that even though Gary is no longer with us, it's still going to be called a Gary Kurtz production in memory of Gary.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Do you have a projected release?
Oh, no, we don't even have a projected start date. We're hoping for the beginning of the year, shooting in England and Wales. But until everything gets locked down finally, we can't project scheduling. But it's still ongoing. And it's just unfortunately that Gary won't be there to lead the production anymore.
Right.
And the other thing is Gary was helping me, working with me on my book, Star Wars Memories, which Richard, you read and giving me a comment for.
And I can't wait for the Star Wars fan community to read this because it's a treasure trove of first-hand stories. And I think I read that faster than I've ever read any book in my life.
And that's absolutely saying something.
Well, thank you. I'm hoping it'll be out not too distant future. But I was working with Gary. He was writing a foreword for the book, and which I hope we'll still be able to use. And those are the two things I was directly working with Gary on. And we were talking about some other stuff, but those were active.
Okay.
I would love to be a fly on the wall on any Gary Kurtz production, just to see how hard and dedicated this man works. 'Cause I've been on a ton of film sets where I was working, and you see the producer, and they're always hanging out by craft service or hitting on the makeup girls.
Really?
But I would just love to see this man at work.
Now, when did you last speak with him?
With Gary?
Yes.
I haven't had conversation with him in a few months, actually, because he was so weak. In the last weeks, he was in what they in England call palliative care after they'd stopped treatment. But his family, Melissa and Tiffany, were with him every day the last weeks. And Melissa was keeping me informed by text and email.
Right.
Boy, the film community and the Star Wars fan community took a huge blow last Sunday, September 23rd, when this news came down, and it was very hard to process, even now.
Yeah, our thoughts definitely go out to his family, of course.
Now, before we wrap up, can you share one more story about Gary Kurtz, maybe revealing something that people might not know about him, other than his very dry, wicked sense of humor?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what people don't know. He was a very spiritual man. He studied a lot of different religions and faiths. He was raised a Quaker.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Me neither.
Yeah, no, he was raised a Quaker. He served in Vietnam. He was a combat photographer carrying a movie camera, and I'm sure, knowing Gary, a still camera. Because of his faith, he would not use a weapon. His commanding officer required that he carry a sidearm. And so he did, but even going out with other soldiers on combat missions, Gary never had bullets in that gun. He just was there with his camera.
Wow.
Wow, that speaks volumes about that man right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's braver and more adherent to his faith than most people would be, I think.
Yeah, it's not even Luke Skywalker did that when he went into the cave.
Wow.
Only what you take with you.
You're right. So, Craig, thank you for coming on and sharing these stories and memories about Gary Kurtz. And once again, we're very, very sorry to hear about the loss of your friend.
Well, thank you. It's a great loss for all of us.
All right, Skywalkers. Well, before we get into our comprehensive solo bonus feature breakdown, we want to introduce everyone to the Skywalking Force and our new network name.
The Skywalkers have spoken, and the new network name is Skywalking NETwork.
Skynet.
That's going to have to be a thing now.
I know.
So, thanks to everyone who weighed in about the name. And I think everyone was really sold on Skywalking NETwork, or
Skynet
for short. And once again, we got to give a huge shout out to Dave Scale, who came up with that one.
Oh, yes. Oh, good. Love it.
All right. All the face huggers love it too, so it's going to stick.
It's not Star Wars or Disney, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's geek.
Yeah, we started the podcast network and the website about a week ago, and so far we've had a lot of articles posted. I've been posting the Star Wars fast food premiums.
Yes.
Which I've had a lot of fun compiling that comprehensive list.
And we've also had reviews from Kai Charles and Eric Onkenhaut on various books.
And concerts.
And concerts, exactly. Yeah, Kai did a review of the John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah.
Which, thank you, Kai.
And Jocasta Drew just wrote a great article where he reviewed the official guide to Solo, a Star Wars story by Pablo Hidalgo and released by DK Books.
And that just came out today on SkywalkingThroughNeverland.com. So head over there if you want to know whether you should be hunting through that book as you watch Solo a million times at home.
I know we will.
All right. Now, this is our 5-year anniversary, you guys. 5 years, which means we have to do something big. And our anniversary officially is September 27th. And this little podcast it's kind of become our baby, with our family of Skywalkers. So as always, we're always looking for ways to grow, improve, change, give you more. So we are reaching out to you, the Skywalkers. So you guys are the ones who listen each week. You guys interact with us in our Facebook group. You've just formed this amazing community, and we'd like to provide even more fun content for you, even more videos, and grow Skynet. But not quite so large that it will take over the world. Right?
Just the human race.
Okay, no. But in order to grow, we need to devote more time to what is already a part-time job, and really almost a full-time job. I mean, between the two of us.
Full-time job and a half.
Yes.
And as Jeremy Hunt just says on Facebook, best darn podcast in the verse.
Aww.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yes.
You know what? I will say it for you.
So, basically, that is why we're recruiting you guys as our Skywalking Force. So this is a way that you can help support us so we can grow and provide more interviews, content, and videos. And then depending on the level you choose, you can get fun gifts, benefits, and at least one bonus show each month. And I have also created a special Skywalking Force design on TeePublic, but it will only be exclusively available to those who pledge. All right, so if you sign up as a Skywalking Force member at the highest level by October 27th, you will receive a free Skywalking Force tee right away, like the free design. So, beginning on September 27th, you can head to skywalkingforce.com and see all those different levels that you can do. And you guys can be a part of the Skywalking Force.
And plus, for the extra bonus shows, we're not going to just say, this is what you're getting. We want input from everyone, and we want to make sure that we're going to give you exactly what you want.
Yeah, and for an example of where the money is going, you asked that, one of the things we want to do, one of our goals, is once we get to a certain amount, and we have to figure out what amount that is, we will invest in some binaural head what are they called? Microphones?
Yeah.
Binaural microphones. So that way, some of our bonus material will be as we're walking through Disneyland for a day, or as we're going on our hoojib hop walk around the block and we're talking to each other. So some of that bonus material is going to be really kooky, or going to the beach or something.
Yeah. And our friend Paul Barry from Window to the Magic.
Yes.
He records a podcast where he uses those. It's like 3D sound. Mm-hmm. Really nice.
Yeah. It's awesome.
All right. So big things coming there.
Oh, so Jeremy Hunt says, I personally think this is great. If we consume excellent content, we should absolutely have the chance to invest in its success. Rock on. Oh,
thank you, Jeremy, and thanks for everyone else, too.
Yeah.
Really, really big help. And we love to hear your input on this because, once again, we want to make sure that everyone's happy.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make a difference?
Yeah.
Your name?
Han Solo. I'm a driver, and I'm a flyer. I was kicked out of flight academy for having a mind of my own.
Feed him to the beast.
Oh, hey! Follow me! I heard about this big job. All we need is a ship.
I know a guy.
Captain Lindo Calrissian. I heard your ship, the fastest in the galaxy. Punch it!
I might be the only person who knows what you really are.
Chewy! What's that?
You are the good guy.
Solo, a Star Wars story, just made its digital debut on September the 14th, and we couldn't be more excited and just couldn't wait until the Blu-ray release on September 25th to watch it. Now, along with the film, we also get 9 behind-the-scenes featurettes and 8 deleted scenes.
Here with us now to break down each of these bonus features is Lisa Dullard, who racked up 20 viewings of Solo in the theater.
Hey, Lisa!
Hey, guys.
Hey, thanks for coming on, and we knew we just had to have you for this particular show. But before we begin, let's hear all about yourself and your fandom and seeing Solo 20 times in the theater.
Well, I am a vintage fan. I go way back to 1977 when I was 8 years old. My dad took me to see Star Wars for the first time, so he started all of this. When Solo was announced, I wasn't actually that excited about it because Han Solo wasn't a character I really connected with. So, I was kind of like, all right, well, a Solo movie sounds great. Okay. But there was never any question of not seeing it in the theater. So, because it's Star Wars. So I got to go to a press screening back in May and I wasn't expecting much and I was completely blown away by the movie. I mean, it took me right back to the original trilogy, the feeling of exhilaration and happiness and just everything was all wrapped up into this film, and it just surprised the heck out of me, and I loved it. Loved every second of it.
So like at that point when you saw it the first time, were you like, okay, I'm seeing this
19 more times?
Yeah.
I didn't have a plan. Star Wars, about 5 times is my, I feel like I've got a good handle on the film after, 3, 4, 5 times. But for Solo, I just wanted to keep going. And then when I saw that so many people were not going to see it, I felt really bad because it was something I loved so much. And, when you love something, you want to support it. So I just decided to keep going. And it would leave one theater and I would go to the next theater and then I would find another theater. And I just sort of traveled around my area and just kept going to see it and just loved it and was happy to do so.
You did your own solo tour, didn't you?
Yeah, it was kind of like a Grateful Dead thing, but just with Solo.
So that would make you a solo head.
Yeah, there you go.
So did you take different people with you?
I took a friend of mine with me probably the beginning of June because she was skeptical. Harrison Ford is her favorite person on the planet, and Han Solo was her favorite character. Mine was always Luke Skywalker. And I told her, I said, you have to see this movie because this guy is really good, Alden Ehrenreich. And I said, he's going to blow you away. And she was like, yeah, okay, whatever. So we went to see it, and she was sold completely. She thought he did a wonderful job. And then a few weeks later, I took my dad to go see it because I make him see every Star Wars movie. He's not really a fan, but because he started this whole thing, I have to sort of make him sit through them. But he really enjoyed it. He had a good time. He thought that was a really fun movie. And first thing he asked me when we got in the car is, so what happens to that girl? Meaning Kira. I said, well, we don't know. And I'm hoping someday we find out.
Well, she's in league with Darth Maul, so I'm not sure there's a great ending there. It's so great to hear that you're so supportive of Solo. This is almost like what I did back in 1983 when I wanted Return of the Jedi to beat E.T. at the box office. So I would go every single night, and then I would count the people in my theater, multiply it by $5, and then try to run a running tally in my head about how much it's going to make at this theater, and pretty much it'd be maybe the same at the other theaters. So I would try to have this tally to say, okay, it needs $800,000 more dollars. Now it needs $799.50 more dollars.
Wow. Wait, so didn't E.T. eventually win though?
Let's not go there.
Oh.
Let's talk about Solo. Let's go back to Solo.
Okay.
So I'm so happy to hear about your support of nature, and I think a lot of fans will come around when they get a chance to watch this, whether streaming or on Blu-ray, and go, wow, why didn't I see this in that theater? I had met so many people, so many fans who I'd said, oh, so then you just saw Solo? No, I'm going to wait for that one. Like, no, you can't watch a movie like this on your phone or on your, even if you have one of those giant 57-inch plasma TVs, no, not going to cut it. You need to see it on the big screen.
The Kessel Run is not the same.
No, a whole different experience. And 2 hours later, they would say, okay, just stop talking. I'll see it in the theater. Because if you don't, Lisa's got to go see it one more time.
Yeah, really. I'm already starting to see a lot of that. I don't know how much you guys have seen on Twitter, but there are already a lot of people who, since Friday, are apologizing to Ron Howard for not going to see the movie in theaters. I mean,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I follow that Solo, a Star Wars Story hashtag pretty closely on social media. And yeah, it's just the number of people that I've seen say that they skipped it in theaters because they didn't think it was going to be good, or they heard bad reviews or whatever. People are shocked at how much fun this movie is.
You know what? Maybe we should tweet out to Ron Howard and apologize for not seeing it more than 4 times. Now I feel really guilty.
Was it just 4 or did we see it 5?
Let's go with 5.
Okay.
I'll take out my movie ticket stubs, which I still have. All right, with that, let's get into Solo, a Star Wars story, now streaming. Lisa, what are your initial thoughts on this release?
I'm generally very happy with it. I think the quality is really good. I think the bonus features are really good. I wish that there was a director's commentary, but I understand why there's not one.
Wait a minute, by which director?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know that you'd really have Ron Howard commenting on stuff that Lord and Miller did. That'd be weird, So I understand why there's not one, but I kind of miss that. But I think the bonus features are really good. I've enjoyed them, watched them repeatedly.
Is there anything more you wanted to see out of this release in terms of special features?
Something I enjoyed with The Last Jedi was the score-only version of the film.
That would be great.
Yeah, because I love the score by John Powell. I think he did an amazing job. And just to listen to that music, just set to the visuals, I think would be really stunning. So I kind of was hoping for something like that.
Boy, you hit the note right on the head there. And that's a huge missed opportunity, getting to see John Williams do that little phrasing in the Solo theme.
Mm-hmm.
What happened there? Where's that? You know that footage out there exists of that. And just to see more of John Powell, you're right. Where is that? I was going to say, I want to see bloopers. I love me some bloopers. Yeah, I really wanted to see that, and I wanted to see, like you were saying, Lisa, I wanted to hear a commentary track. But I know there's no way you're going to get one. There just have to be a Disney executive sitting right in the room going, no, you can't say that. Say that again. Nope, not going there either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know they'd never do this, but one thing I would love to see is like which scenes were directed by Lord and Miller versus which were directed by Ron Howard.
Well, that's hard because some scenes, a chunk of it, a shot or two were directed by one director, and a shot or an insert was by another director. But overall, I could say I'm very happy with this release. I love all the featurettes. They did a good job covering most of everything. Would have loved to have seen more music, but maybe on a special 3D edition we'll get that. Sarah, what are your initial thoughts on this release?
Yeah, me too. I love when they have something long, like this hour and a half, basically featurette. But, sometimes featurettes are like 3 minutes and then they move on. Whereas this one kind of put all the featurettes together in one long thing that you can really sink your teeth into. So I did appreciate that. But then I just found it funny because that behind the scenes featurette begins with a round table with Ron Howard and all the cast sitting around a round table. Or is it
It's a round table.
Okay,
like
it is
a
round.
sabacc table.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a sabacc table. And there's just like no mention of the first director. So it's like, seems like the perfect thing to be asking, okay, so what was it like, Ron Howard versus Lord and Miller?
And that's the release we're not ever going to see.
Exactly.
The honest,
Yeah.
what really happened. We're never, ever going to see an official Disney release on that.
Yeah, there's just like an allusion to before Ron came on, that kind of a thing. So
one thread throughout all of these featurettes was that we got a chance to see Chewbacca behind the scenes, and not Eunice without the Chewbacca mask, but we saw a lot of Chewbacca as if Chewbacca was the actor. And here he is lounging on a chair, making snow angels, punching the punching bag, goofing off and working out, giving Wookiee hugs. We never saw Eunice without the Chewie mask. And it really gave the impression that, yeah, this is Chewbacca. This movie is starring Chewbacca as Chewbacca. And I just really enjoyed seeing that because it really cemented Chewbacca as a fully rounded character. And I think for the first time, we really see him as a fully rounded character.
Nice.
All right, with that, let's go into the deleted scenes.
Yay.
Now, if you want more in-depth discussion on these deleted scenes, I advise everyone to go over to the Star Wars Explained to YouTube show, and he's got a really nice breakdown and a really in-depth look at every single one of these deleted scenes. All right, now let's give our own breakdown, starting with Proxima's Den. This is the scene where Haand gets back and finds Kira.
Haand, I could have cut you. Listen, we gotta go now.
What are you talking about? What happened to the drop?
It didn't go great when Mother hears. She's gonna be mad.
How mad?
Not enough. I can't be here when she does. I have to leave tonight or else I'm dead tomorrow. But listen, I'm not going anywhere without you.
They would come after us.
Yeah, we gotta leave Corellia. You said yourself, someday we're gonna get out of here, right? It's today.
So, Lisa, what was your impression of this scene? And do you feel like it should have been cut out? Or do you think it would have served the story better had it been left in?
I didn't like it. I didn't. It felt too slow. I mean, to start off the movie, it was just sort of very anticlimactic. And Kira seemed really weird in it. Like she didn't really care about Haand. Sort of like, why are you waking me up? Go away, kind of thing. I have a feeling that was Lord and Miller. And I think what we got in the film was Ron Howard, because he went back and shot a lot of that Corellia stuff.
Yeah.
I think toward the end of the production. So I think what we got was Ron Howard, and I like the pacing of it a lot better. This just seemed, it was just something was off about it. I didn't really care for it.
Mm-hmm.
I really loved the way they approached it in the film. And I love toward the end of this one clip how you see the worms in that pool, and you see these divers the puppeteers next to the worms, but the first time you look at it, it's like, who are these guys? What are they doing next to these worms? And you realize, oh, they're the puppeteers that we'll take out later on.
I thought that was funny too. Although in this scene, we do get a really good look at one of the aliens, Moloch, when he like his mask opens up, because they can't have the sun like shining on their skin. So he's inside the den and his mask opens up and his full face comes out, and it's like, whoa, that's a really cool
effect.
Like a cool effect.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now let's move on to Karelian foot chase, and this is when Han and Kira escape Proxima's den and hide out in a barrel of eels.
What are you doing?
Get in!
No.
You got a better idea? Oh. Get in!
I love that scene. I love it. I wish that it stayed in. It's funny. It shows the chemistry between Han and Kira and between Alden and Amelia. I thought they had really good chemistry generally throughout the film. But in this scene, it really gives you a good idea of how they feel about one another. I also like the little, you can't not see the callback to Indiana Jones with the snakes. Oh, he's afraid of he looks in there and sees all the eels. He's like, oh, I'm not getting in that thing.
Oh, even to the point where Han pulls the eel out of his pants in the end, which John Kasdan had confirmed that was a callback to Indiana Jones.
And The Last Crusade.
The Last Crusade, when River Phoenix pulled the snake out of his pants.
Right.
Thank goodness John Kasdan was on this film, because it's all these callbacks that point right back to him. Now, this scene really focuses on Kira's talents, that she is very resourceful, and she is not afraid to get dirty or wet. You open up that barrel and you see all those eels? There's no way I would jump in there. No way. And Han's like, no, forget it. And she's like, this is what we got to do. She doesn't even think twice about it.
And I do appreciate how it really shows how Kira is willing to do anything to get ahead. And it kind of, it's like the beginning of her character arc there.
Well, it really cements her character from Most Wanted.
Right. Yeah, that too. That definitely.
All right, with that, let's now move on to Han Solo Imperial Cadet. Oh, I love this one. But who wants to start us off with this? Okay, I will.
Yeah, why don't you, Richard? Go ahead.
Now, this one starts off with a half-rendered TIE fighter piloted by Han Solo, and we know that because the faceplate of the pilot helmet is not there because we want to see Alden Ehrenreich. And the TIE fighter is plunging toward this Imperial ship, which we see is a Colin Cantwell original design of the Star Destroyer. And when this was put out on social media a couple of months before the movie came out, I was so excited because we just had Colin Cantwell on the show. And we talked about this Imperial cruiser. Now here it makes a comeback, makes a cameo in Solo. And wow, I was so excited. But when we saw the film, I think my first reaction was, hey, where's Colin's Star Destroyer? And it's right here on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, at least we get to see it. And now it's on deleted scenes for everyone to see.
Right. So this scene pretty much showcases Han doesn't always follow Imperial protocol because he was trying to save another pilot, but had broke formation, and that's why he's tumbling toward the Star Destroyer, because like in Han's life, things always go wrong. But in the bigger picture, he was trying to save a fellow officer. And then we cut to Han in this trial scene, which I think is I want to say it's funny. It's very Lord and Miller, but
yes,
the way Han acts toward these Imperial officials, he even calls this one guy Moff. And if you think one officer is a Moff, you're going to keep yourself in check.
Mm-hmm.
Because that means he's got a very high rank if he's a Moff. This is something that we really need to see in the movie, because we cut right from Han being recruited into the Empire to him on Mimban. But wait a minute, he was a TIE fighter pilot. What happened to that era?
This scene is like knits together the two.
Not ejecting. I can make it back to the docking bay. You know what? This conversation's over. All right.
Cadet Solo. Still can't decide if you're brave or stupid.
Well, I'd like to think I'm a little of both, sir. Moff. Sir Moff.
It's Commodore. And if you think smartass is the way to go here, you're sorely mistaken.
And it's got a great ending cut.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's got a great button on the end that, with the Han asking the Imperial officer, so when will I be flying again? And he says, you'll be flying again real soon. Cut to Han flying through the air on Mimban. So I really like this scene. It could have been cut down a little more to cut out Han's wisecracker remarks. I really wanted to see Han as a pilot before joining the infantry on Mimban.
Yeah, there were some interesting things about that scene. When he's in the TIE fighter, he says they're ordering him to get back into formation and whatnot. He's saying no, and he switches off the whole thing, saying this conversation's over. And that makes you think about in A New Hope where they're going to rescue the princess, and he's trying to cover it, saying, "Oh, we had a weapons malfunction," and then he shoots the things. It's a boring conversation anyway.
You know what? This conversation's over.
Boring conversation anyway.
Sort of reminded me of that.
Right.
There were some interesting cameos in that one too. Somebody had tweeted out a picture of people who were in that scene, and that was where we had Tag and Bink were famously supposed to be in that, but then they were cut. Ron Howard's wife is in that scene, but she got cut. She's an Imperial officer, so that was kind of sad that he cut his wife out of the movie.
Yeah, you have costume designers in that scene, so there's a lot of behind the scenes cameos.
Yeah, I think Rob Breedow's in that scene. It was really a fun little scene. The thing I really liked about it, the tribunal, is I think Alden's performance. He was very Harrison Ford in that performance. It really, I mean, he nails Harrison for the entire movie, but there's something about his dialogue and his attitude in that scene that really made me feel like I was watching almost like Harrison's Han Solo in a way. But yeah, I love the scene. I thought it was a lot of fun, but I get why it was cut. It's would slow things down at a point in the movie where you want to sort of keep things rolling because you're moving on to other things. So I get why it was cut, but I did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned that you really liked his performance in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't. I thought it was weird that you see an Imperial officer behaving in this way. And I know that that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's the point. You know, Han doesn't belong here as an Imperial officer. But the tone of the scene, the tribunal specifically, just doesn't seem to jive with Star Wars for me. I don't know what it is. So
no, not whatsoever. Because once again, no one would ever speak to a Moff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he was just throwing titles out there just to be a wise guy.
Right. But you can't be a wise guy in the Imperial army and expect to keep your head or your hand or whatever.
Right.
So it's just funny. I got like the total opposite impression than you, Lisa.
It's all right. We're all entitled to have different opinions. It's okay. I'm not one of those fans.
Yep.
If you look at this long shot of the tribunal, you'll see the view screen at the other end of the hall, and right standing up against the view screen is Tag and Bink from the comic book.
Wait, who are Tag and Bink?
Tag and Bink are bumbling Imperial officers.
Wait, are they
created by Kevin Rubio?
Okay.
Of Troops fame.
Oh, but are they in the Lego Freemaker Adventures, or is that the different Imperial officers that I'm thinking of?
That's different Imperial officers.
Bing Bong, the voice of Bing Bong is like one
Richard
of them.
Kind.
Yeah, Richard Kind. And they're like bumbling and they try to stay
it's totally
mediocre.
Different, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm sure these actors are like, yes, we get to be Tag and Bink.
Yeah.
Fans are going to love us.
Yeah. And
on the cutting room floor.
Nothing.
All right, now let's move on to the Battle of Mimban, the extended version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is where we see the death of Corso, who was the muscle in Beckett's crew. And, Han actually sees his death, and it kind of explains why Beckett went back for Han and Chewie.
It's gonna be fine.
How's it gonna be fine?
She's trying to make you feel better. Corso's down! Follow me.
I always wondered, why is Beckett going back for Han and Chewie? He doesn't know these guys. But then, now this explains it, like, oh, we just lost the muscle in our group. We need a couple of more guys, or one more guy, and if that one more person is a Wookiee, because he's so strong, and he's bringing along this annoying pain in the rear, well, you know what? 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, I liked it when they're on the AT hauler after the that gorgeous shower scene between the two of them, and Chewie and Han are standing there, and Han says to him, "No, they only took you because of me." And I always laugh like, "No, they took you because of Chewie, because they needed somebody strong." So yeah, when you see Corso, and he's also like I say, he's in the novelization as well, big, strong, muscly guy. They needed to, like Rio says, they need some muscle on the job. So they took Chewie, and then Han was just sort of rolled into the package there. I don't know that Beckett wanted to take the mouthy scooch, but he ended up with him anyway.
Well, yeah, and also Han is kind of Chewie's translator, because he's the only one who understands Shriwook.
Right, good point.
Right.
And he's got some knowledge of how the Imperials work from the inside, so that played into it too.
Definitely.
This didn't really add too much to this scene, except for that part with Corso. I think that was really necessary and should have been in the film.
Well, it also, I mean, Han does see Corso die and kind of comes to this realization of war a little bit, but he kind of gets the same realization when they do the heist. So it was like a repeat thing, and it wasn't necessarily needed.
But I do love seeing how vicious the Empire can be and how dark the Star Wars film could be. It really parallels Rogue One in the tone and the dark nature of it.
Yeah, the cost of war.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
All right, now let's go on to Haand versus Chewie, the extended cut, and this is the mud battle.
They're meet cute.
Yeah. The what?
They're meet cute. It's when two characters meet for the first time and they're kind of like lovers or whatever. Yeah, exactly. It's the meet cute.
The meet cute? I've never heard that before.
Really?
All right, so here is the scene where Han is thrown down into the dungeon with the beast.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, big fella. Calm down. Take it easy. We're on the same side. You like treats?
Now, I don't like this scene, just because I don't like seeing Chewbacca so knotted and dirty and muddy and just, they're friends. You know what, guys, keep things positive, okay? We don't need to fight. Can't we all just get along? That's just what I took from it. And even in the movies, like, oh, Chewie, this is Han. Be careful with him. He's gone through a lot.
I love the scene. I thought it was great. I love the way the two of them met. And there is, when Chewie does after he's banging Han around, and Han kind of shows he can take a pretty good beating too. But there's one point where Han does fall, and he's like playing dead. And Chewie does sort of lean over, like he's concerned. Oh my God, did I actually kill this guy? So I don't think his intent is ever to really kill anyone. So, yeah, and then Han's using it as a ruse to lunge at him and try to get back at him. But no, I thought it was fun. And I thought some of the lines were hysterical.
It really does show that Chewbacca, he's not just a vicious killer like the Imperials think, but yeah, he does value life. But that Imperial armor in the background could contradict that statement.
Ooh.
Because we don't know if Chewbacca had destroyed those Imperial officers or that's just there to scare anyone else. But I don't want to think that Chewbacca would tear apart humans and then eat them. Maybe a porg, just not a human.
I know.
But when you're hungry, you're hungry.
This scene kind of, honestly, it makes me uncomfortable. It's like, I don't like to see Han and Chewie fighting.
Yeah, Han just punched Chewie in the face.
I know.
I just don't want to see that.
So I'm glad in the movie it's a little shorter, because actually it's so extended that I got a little bored towards the end. It's like, all right, get on with it. We know they're going to be together eventually. So that was just me.
In the theater, Lisa, when you first saw this, and the Imperial officer said, throw him down to the beast. Throw Han down to the beast. Did you know who they were talking about? No,
I didn't think that we were going to meet Chewie that soon. So I was surprised. I wasn't thinking that the Beast was going to be Chewbacca. So that did surprise me. I don't know what I was thinking of what their meeting would be like, but I wasn't thinking that it was going to be there on Mimban.
Yeah, a lot of people said, oh, as soon as they said Beast, I knew exactly who they were talking about. Like, how would you know that? When's Chewbacca ever been referred to as a beast? Had they said, throw Han down to that walking carpet, well, yeah, then we know what's coming.
Well, but that's the fun, because you want the reveal of the visual.
Oh, I agree. I agree. But I'm just saying people had guessed or knew that it was going to be Chewbacca down there when they said Beast.
Well, I'm actually one of those people who, when they said Beast, I was like, wait, I think if I had to bet, I would bet that they're talking about Chewie. And then as the scene went on, I was like, yep, I was right. So I do remember having that kind of feeling that it might be. I mean, I wasn't like I knew, but I had the inkling.
Even when Chewbacca stepped into the frame, I still wasn't sold on Chewbacca.
Oh, okay, because he's all muddy.
I know. Oh, that's why I love the shower scene. And in this scene here, you can really tell the difference between Eunice Sawatomo's Chewbacca versus Peter Mayhew's Chewbacca. Because Peter Mayhew has got very long legs. Eunice, not so much. He's got a longer torso than his legs.
Right.
So you can always tell the two.
Yeah, you can definitely tell this Chewie has shorter legs. There's a couple long shots there. It's like, oh.
Yeah, that's definitely Eunice. All right, now let's go to another Han and Chewie moment with snowball fight. And to me, this seems more like an improv moment between Alden and Eunice. This is when Han and Chewie on Vandor start throwing snowballs at each other as they're walking along with Beckett.
Hey!
And it just doesn't seem like something that's ever been scripted.
Oh, no.
It just seemed like, hey, we did this about 30 times. Let's just have a little fun with it. And there's Chewbacca throwing a snowball at Han. I just can't see Chewbacca throwing a snowball. If you had done that in The Empire Strikes Back, at the probe droid, maybe it would have tied in. But it just seemed more like a Lord and Miller, hey guys, try this one on for size.
Oh.
And then at the very end, Han turns around and whips a snowball right at Chewbacca at close range. Ever been hit by a snowball at close range? It hurts. So yeah, this is one of those scenes. Yeah, we didn't need this.
I just love the background. I mean, it's a standing still camera, and you just see this gorgeous Alps right there, or the Dolomites, apparently. But like right behind the Dolomites is the Austrian Alps, so it's like, oh, it's my homeland.
Yeah, I loved it because I'm a winter person, so I love snow. So anytime I can see snow, it makes me really happy, especially in summer. So it was a lot of fun. And we had a hot summer. And you're right, it was actually improvised. I saw an interview during the promotional tour with Alden Ehrenreich, and he did say that him and Jonas started screwing around, throwing snowballs and stuff, and he was hoping it would make it onto the deleted scenes, and he got his wish. Yeah, it didn't need to be in the movie, but it was a lot of fun to watch. Makes me laugh.
Yeah, this should have been lifted out and put in the outtakes. With bloopers and outtakes. This would have been perfect for that.
Absolutely.
All right, now let's move on to Meet Dryden, the extended cut.
You like what you see?
All right.
Oh, don't be ashamed of your appetites, huh? It's good to be hungry.
It's definitely that.
Whip feet. Trust me, best thing you've ever tasted.
Oh, I've actually had them. Love a good twip.
It was cute. Han Solo was really cute, trying to eat that thing, that thwip, and he doesn't know how to say it, and he's trying to pretend like he knows, what all this fancy food is and everything, and Kira's kind of rolling her eyes at him, and he's spilling food all over himself. But I think that it was for the tone of the scene where Dryden is, laying into Beckett. I think you've got these two conflicting things. You have the serious stuff going on where Dryden's like, I'm going to kill all of you. And then you have Han, screwing around with the food. So tonally it would have been a little weird in the movie to see those things. You're not sure if you should be laughing or if you should be scared for the group. So I can see why that was left out. But it is cute.
It really takes away from the seriousness of Dryden's character and the dichotomy between him being a very charming guy, but yet very deadly. Because he's caring for everyone. Hey, you guys hungry? You thirsty? You cross me again, I'm going to rip your head off. And cutting back and forth to Han, it really does take away. And I think that was the only thing that was added to that scene is Han fumbling with that whipped. I couldn't. I put the closed caption on, and I still couldn't understand what they were saying because each closed caption said a different thing.
Yeah, I didn't get anything out of that.
Yeah, I looked it up. It's thwip, THWIP, and it is a 6-legged mouse-like mammal.
Wait a minute. I wonder if that's some kind of reference to the comics, because in comic books, remember thwip? Like
the classic Marvel Star Wars comics.
That's a total what do you call it word? Like a
sound effect word.
A sound effect word.
Like
oh my
swonk.
And I know we've seen thwip before.
Write that down.
Okay.
That is connecting the dots.
Yeah. That is awesome.
You go, girls.
All right, we're going to have to tweet to people here.
Yeah. Nice catch. I'm so glad, Lisa, that you knew that because the closed captions didn't help at all. All right, with that, let's move on to the very last deleted scene, Coaxium Double Cross. And this pretty much sets up the Coaxium Double Cross that Haand sets up, his scheme, when he's switching out the canisters of the coaxium before he meets Dryden Voss.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any more of these cases?
That's actually a kind of a hindrance because if you know as the audience that that's coming, then it's not such a fun surprise.
Yeah, there's no twist.
Yeah, there's no twist. And so, like, without this scene, it actually works better because you think that you think what the bad guys think. You're as surprised as Dryden. Exactly.
But I do love that last shot of the yacht ship.
Yes.
Coming into port. Oh, what a beautiful ship.
Yeah, but like you said, it's a little too much telegraphing what's happening and takes the whole surprise. Yeah, it would have been kind of silly to leave that in.
Yeah.
Push it! So glad we took this job!
All right, with that now, let's move on to the featurettes.
Woohoo! The hour-and-a-half long featurette that contains the little featurettes. So we're going to go through each one of those.
So let's give some highlights here, starting with the director and cast roundtable. And this is where Ron Howard moderates the roundtable with solo stars Alden Ehrenreich, Donald Glover, Amelia Clark, Eunice Sawatamo, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Thandie Newton, Woody Harrelson, and Paul Bettany.
And it's actually not a round table. It's a hexagonal table.
You know what? Call Disney.
I know.
You made a mistake.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Here we go. So this round table...
No.
Well, I'm sorry. Oh, geez. All right. Well, okay. So... We're watching this, Richard. We're for the first time. We're sitting on the couch watching this hexagonal table. And when I first saw this, I thought, I've seen Thandie Newton in that yellow dress before. And Amelia Clark, her hairstyle, that looks so familiar. And then the realization hit. They're all wearing the exact same outfits as when I saw them at the Solo Global press conference in the Pasadena Convention Center on May 12th. So they must have shot this that day.
I'm sure right beforehand.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I was like, oh my gosh, I saw them that day. Blah, blah, blah. So I got all excited.
What they should have had was, because they're all sitting at that hexagonal table that is set up as if you're about to play a sabacc match.
Right.
So they should have had that out on display.
They should have, because it was not.
Yeah, I mean, how awesome of a photo op moment would that have been to be sitting at a sabacc table with actual sabacc cards? And they could have brought in some of the costume pieces.
And it was there that day. I wasn't doing a one-on-one, so maybe that was in the one-on-one area.
Maybe I'm just getting upset now.
I know. Oh, well.
All right, Lisa, what did you take away from this?
I enjoyed it. I think they're as a group of people, the cast, they all really seem to get along very well. And their chemistry and their sense of humors all seem to complement each other nicely. Ron Howard did a very nice job moderating. A few things I enjoyed was the Alden telling the story about his grandma.
I told my Nana, and I was like, you can't tell anybody. And she was like, okay. And then I called her a week later, and she was like, everyone's thrilled. Nana, you can't tell people. And she was like, that's ridiculous.
How many times does that happen where you say, do not tell anyone, and the other person says, oh, I swear it. And 30 minutes later, everyone, even people you went to high school with, they know. Your third grade science teacher knows. How does that happen?
Well, yeah, and I love Donald Glover's story about going out to get pizza the day the news broke to everyone, and like all of a sudden people were calling him Lando.
The day it was announced I was Lando, I was like,
I'm going to go get a pizza and watch Empire Strikes Back, right? So I go to the pizza shop. On the street already, people are like, Lando, Lando. I go in there, he's like, slice for Lando? I was kind of freaked out. And then I had to get on a plane the next day, right? And I'm going through, and like, I'm in line, and he's like, I can get you through if you sign this, Lando. It was like crazy.
But I figure, I mean, everyone knows the character Lando, so it's something that's really cool.
And plus, he had been omitted from episode 7 and 8.
Yes.
At this point, episode 8 hadn't come out. But I think at that point, there were rumors that Lando was not going to be in episode 8. So we're all clamoring for Lando, and now we just heard the news, Lando is back!
Woohoo!
So everyone was excited. I love the fact that Alden Ehrenreich, when he said he first heard it, just walked along the beach. He was at the pier.
Yeah, Santa Monica Pier.
To go on a roller coaster, yeah, but he never said the Santa Monica Pier.
No, but
I'm guessing.
We assumed. Yes.
Yeah, so now we've got to try to find security footage of that day of Alden at the Santa Monica Pier on that little rickety roller coaster. Had we been there, we would have said, no, Alden, don't go on that roller coaster. We don't know when it was last security checked. The safety check is not really up to date, so we don't want you on that thing.
Yeah.
We can't lose you now. You're the perfect Han Solo, and I can't stress that enough, that he was the perfect young Han Solo.
Amen.
So Ron Howard goes around and asks them questions like, where were you? Who did you tell? And how about the story between Lando and L3? How did they meet? They just didn't go into this whole pansexual thing, which I would have thought, well, there's no way they're going to go into that here.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, in this day and age where you got to represent everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they should have gone into that.
But I think that news came out after...
It did.
After May 12th, which is when they shot this.
Who revealed that? John Kasdan or Lawrence Kasdan?
Yeah, it was John Kasdan.
I'm sure when John Kasdan had revealed that, he knew all along that Lando was pansexual. And I think this would have been a perfect time to have brought that up.
Maybe if John Kasdan was sitting at the table, they would have brought it up. Who knows?
Yeah, he doesn't really have a filter.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's funny when Ron Howard asks Amelia Clark, so when you're on Game of Thrones, are there any Star Wars fans in the cast and crew? And she's like, well, yeah, because they're all pretty much in the new Star Wars films. I'm sure she and Gwendolyn Christie had many conversations that didn't end well. Oh, you get screen time? I don't get screen time. And another omission from this, other than Lord and Miller, where was Erin Kellerman, who plays Enfys Nest? Where was she? I know she's not part of the main cast.
Yes, but okay, where was she on the whole press tour? I mean, come on. Like with the nation clamoring for more females and more everything like that.
She was at the red carpet premiere in Los Angeles. There were pictures of her on the red carpet, but nobody knew who she was.
Oh.
Yeah, because she's not anywhere to be seen.
Yeah.
All right. Now, let's move on to Kasdan on Kasdan. Very, very interesting spin as Lawrence and his son John share what it was like to write the script for Solo together.
Kathy approached me to come back to the franchise. I'd been gone for a long time. And they said, is there any of the characters you'd like to deal with? And I said, well, there's only one, and it's Han Solo. And John got involved after that.
Well, this is our first experience writing together. We've both worked separately, and he asked me to help him with this project, and it was an irresistible opportunity.
The best part of this is when they kind of describe them as a father and son working on this film and this saga, which has to do with fathers and sons.
And the hurdles of working together, working with your son, working with your dad. And John, growing up on Star Wars films, he not only was just a viewer, but he was a fan. He was a big fan. He knew all the expanded universe, storylines, and characters, where Lawrence, not so much. As he says in this featurette, that my dad, that Lawrence is more of a purist.
Yeah.
He only deals with the original trilogy, and that's it. And even Lawrence says, yeah, I'm not too familiar with those other films. Just say prequels.
Right?
Come on.
We know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and John has seen them and loved them.
Yeah.
So, Lawrence, broaden your horizons.
I liked Lawrence Kasdan. I mean, he obviously loves Han Solo a great deal. I mean, that's the only character he was really interested in working on if he was going to come back to Star Wars. But he said something about Han that I really liked. I think toward the end of the featurette, he said that Han is someone who doesn't care, but really does care.
I met Han Solo in A New Hope, which is everybody's first experience in this world. And he was immediately my favorite character. I liked everybody else. I was interested in everybody else. I worshiped Alec Guinness. I liked that character a lot. But it was Han who always riveted me. He was right in line with all the kind of characters that I've always liked in movies. Bogart and Queen and every guy who pretends like he doesn't care about other people but really does. Won't stick his neck out for anyone and always does.
And I thought that was a really good description from somebody who really knows the character. It was a good description of Han Solo and what makes him such a great character.
Yeah, there was one thing that stuck out to me in this Kasdan on Kasdan, and that was when John Kasdan, who of course is the younger generation, he kind of noticed a similarity between how Larry Kasdan and George Lucas talked about the saga. Like, to them, they're very matter-of-fact about it. This is like the way it is. This is how the story should be. Whereas people like us who grew up on it, there's this reverence that we take to Star Wars. So it's actually really good that you had both of those kind of dichotomies working on this film. And I think that's why it ends up working so well.
George came to visit us on set, and I noticed a profound similarity between the way he talked about Star Wars and the way that my dad talked about Star Wars. They both have a kind of straight, no-nonsense approach to this whole thing that is refreshing and useful, particularly when it's bounced back and forth with someone like me who thinks about all of it.
Next, let's go to remaking the Millennium Falcon.
Woohoo!
Track the transformation of the most famous ship in the galaxy.
Excellent.
How hard of a job was this? And how do we still keep it iconic?
The Falcon in this film is brand new, which is, really cool to see.
To redesign the most iconic looking ship in the galaxy. How far do we go with it? Do we add fins on it? Do we add bigger thrusters on the back? Just a little bit of tongue-in-cheek. Maybe it's a Smoking the Bandit. Maybe it's got flames on it. Color palette. We went through yellow, red, and eventually wound up on this blue that had almost like an automotive paint quality.
I just love that we got to kind of go into the designer's studio and see some of the images that they were thinking of to add to the Falcon to make it different, like flames.
I want a toy of that.
Right?
Or the Smokey and the Bandit, which is very timely right now.
Yeah.
With that big insignia. Or, you know what? Let's say if Sabine had gotten to the Millennium Falcon, what would she have painted on there?
Oh, a Firebird. Come on. It's like the perfect shape.
Yep.
You could have an extended Firebird. You can have the round design of the wings, and then the snout of the Firebird could be coming out into the okay, I want to make that now. Oh my God. All right.
You making note of that too?
Yes, I am.
I liked how Lawrence Kasdan referred to the Millennium Falcon as the central location for everything that happens in Star Wars. And you don't really think about it that often, or at least I don't. But he's right. I mean, every major thing that's happened has happened on the Millennium Falcon. It's like everybody's home. And it was just, I thought that was really a really neat idea. You just think of it as a ship a lot of times and take it for granted. When you stop and you think, wow, this thing really is very important to the whole story and to everybody that passes through it.
Yeah, and Tatooine was thought of as the hub of the Star Wars universe. But now expanding into Force Awakens and Last Jedi and Solo, the Millennium Falcon really is that central point. If this were Disneyland, that would be the Mickey and Walt Disney statue.
Well, just like at Disneyland, now they're making Galaxy's Edge. You can't have Galaxy's Edge without the Falcon in it.
No, not at all.
And that's why they're building the Falcon.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes?
Hold on. Because there had been rumors
that
the Millennium Falcon was going to be destroyed in Episode 9.
Oh.
But if Galaxy's Edge takes place after... We never really got a timeline.
I believe they've mentioned how it's not technically supposed to be in any time period, although by making it the First Order, they kind of have picked a time period.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you're right. You can't do something like Galaxy's Edge and not include the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure one or two very vocal fans would get very upset, and one of those would be me. Because even when we had heard about Star Wars Land years ago, the Millennium Falcon was always the center point. And now we have the art directors talking about how they picked little nuances from A New Hope and added those into the art direction, the set dressing.
The silver headphones are a nod to the silver headphones that you see in Episode 4. We thought maybe it'd be fun to just suggest that those headphones have been kicking around for a while. We took cues for the bar design from earlier films, such as the homestead in Episode 4, even Rogue One, where you had the kitchen.
And you got to give it to the art department for really appealing to the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Even things that they would never notice. But now that we see this, now that we know they're there, it just heightens the experience.
I got a kick out of how Lando's weights are square, so they don't roll around.
Think about it. Think about it, he says.
Well, apparently someone did think about it.
Of course.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I have a question for all of you. Now, in this featurette, we get to see a lot of the inside of the Falcon, including beds, including little dens, including the cape room. If there was one place you had to pick that you could take a nap, where would you go? Or what would you pick?
Cockpit.
Okay.
Cockpit, probably.
To take a nap?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I would pick the little alcove on top of the Dejeric table because I think that's just funny and it seems like small and just my size.
But then if someone sits down to play a game of Dejeric, you got to climb over them.
Well, I'm just thinking afternoon nap. You're going to be in the cockpit. It's fine.
Yeah, but what if we have friends over and they want to play Dejeric and
they'll move?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sweetie wife. Yes.
Or I'd love to hide in the capes.
Well, that makes sense.
That would be awesome.
All right, now let's move on to Escape from Corellia. And here we see behind-the-scenes footage of the speeder chase from Proxima's den.
There's nothing but fun associated with going back to characters you love and imagining what they were like when they were younger. I wanted to see what's the history of the guy that comes into the cantina in Mos Eisley. What would the young Han Solo be like?
We wanted to see him piloting something before he was a pilot, to see where the roots of these skills came.
Everything on Corellia is some of my favorite stuff in Star Wars, period. The whole look of the planet, the water, the whole industrial area. I just think that the whole thing was just realized beautifully on screen. And Han's land speeder, well, a speeder that he steals because it's not Han's, but that M68, I love it. That's probably my favorite Star Wars vehicle right now. I have all sorts of little M68s all over the house, but and I love that they made that an actual car. And I want to know where that is right now. And if that M68 is just sitting around somewhere, I'd be happy because I love that thing. But so watching how the chase came to be, inspiration for it, and to see how the stunt drivers, the combination of the practical effects and the CG and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really thought it was interesting how they showed the car gliding, like the actual car, but then they took out the wheels and showed you how just that spin when the stunt driver was doing it actually works to make it look like it's floating.
Yeah, and the whole use of practical cars, which is something that we had seen from, I'm not sure if it was leaked footage or footage they had released on their own, because we knew there was going to be some kind of a speeder chase, or maybe it was some kind of a race. I think everyone has assumed it was going to be a race because it was Han Solo. And I was really looking forward to seeing his piloting skills. And I think the beautiful stitching together of the CG and the practical and the models works perfectly. And this was such an amazing scene in the film, especially when at the very end where Han tries to do the Millennium Falcon maneuver and spins the speeder sideways and it gets caught.
Oh.
I thought it was beautiful. And then when we see it in The Empire Strikes Back, then it pays off. But so much work went into this scene, and they point out little nuances on the speeder and how it was constructed. Things we'll never notice. Here's a piston from a 1972 Jaguar, or here's something that came from an airplane or a Rolls Royce. Like, I appreciate that kind of detail. We're never going to notice it, but I appreciate the details.
Yeah.
The baguette warmers. I wonder where the baguette warmers are.
Oh my. Oh, right.
The bread. Yeah, the baguette warmers.
Right.
What the heck? Think of that. A baguette warmer. Okay.
What did they use that for again?
I don't know. I don't think they said. They just showed, they were showing all the different assorted things. This from an airplane, this from this. And they showed a baguette warmer. I was like, where the heck is that?
Yeah.
I think Hand Speeder has to be the thing that not only myself, but I think everyone here is most proud of, because it is an iconic vehicle. Some of the dressing items that we've put on these cars, everything from baguette warmers that we found in a local supermarket, through to the refueling nose cone of a military jet, through to a Morris Minor door hinge, have all been incorporated into the design. This is from an aluminium casting company that we found here. It's a component from an aircraft. I couldn't tell you which aircraft or what it actually is.
Yeah, when I saw it, I think it's also meant for when the bread rises, the dough. Like you keep the dough in those little baguette shapes. That's how you make it rise.
Yeah, it's interesting to see their junkyard full of parts when they go back there and just bash whatever they can and put together this model the same way they did with Star Wars. They would kit bash all these model kits to make one new super model.
Or Apollo 13, where they had to... Or all the scientists, this is all the supplies that the ship has, and they need to make this square peg go into this round hole with using just only this supply.
Well, same applies here.
Yes.
All right, now let's move on to the train heist.
That was my Ron Howard reference.
I got that.
Okay.
I got that. Now, the train heist explores the challenges and thrills of creating this action-packed sequence, including its remote location and spectacular effects.
Woohoo!
We wanted a classic hijacking in the movie. We wanted to see Han Solo do a real crime. He was going to do a self-serving robbery.
We wanted the heist to be a difficult physical challenge. It's not a mental challenge. It's a physical challenge, and it does cost dearly for everyone involved.
Dude, this was my favorite, I think. It's awesome. And I love the fact that, this is the action sequence that will change the course of Han Solo's life.
Yeah, this is the springboard into his outlaw days.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so awesome. So, and I love how it has such an impact on Han's life. And they really, from previs to the actual making of this sequence, they had everything plotted out. So like when they actually got the actors on set, they knew exactly what shots they needed.
This was one of the first sequences that was revealed for Solo because they wanted everyone to know that this has that Western feel.
Yes.
And you can't have a Butch Cassidy and Sundance type of action sequence without a train. And I heard a lot of people saying, what, a train in Star Wars? You don't need a train. Why not just have it float or fly? But, look beyond that.
Well, yes. And plus, it's not called a train in Star Wars. It's called a conveyance.
Exactly. The inspiration was taken from two AT-ATs.
I know.
The AT-AT body just stuck together. And in the middle comes the rail.
We looked at some great train sequences of how you might tackle something like that. And it all began with an ingenious design idea. This particular kind of train that tilts and twists.
The initial idea for this was this thing would kind of ride on a laser. We eventually went with more of like a physical track. One of the things I proposed early on was that it had a kind of a counterweight to it, that there'd be a train on top and there'd be a train on the bottom. And then because it had this kind of counterbalance, therefore having the ability to kind of rotate in this kind of fun roller coaster kind of way. Some of the design look, we just kind of took a cue from the AT-AT walkers and similar kind of texture and color and shape, and used that as the approach.
I thought this sequence was brilliant, and he added in the range troopers with their magnetic boots.
And the fact that it's in the mountains.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you have Enfys Nest and the Cloud Riders.
Yep.
Yeah, this scene was nothing short of spectacular.
One of the things that I really was looking forward to seeing how they did was the explosion. When the coaxium, Haand lets go of the coaxium, and then their Enfys Nests, people, the cables all get tangled up, and then they snap and the coaxium falls. So it's really cool to see how they did that with they had a medium-sized aquarium and put a little model of the mountain inside and set off a little firecracker, and they got this really cool effect from it. So I thought that was really cool to see.
Release your cables or die!
So at the end, the train heist doesn't go so well. Hopefully you've already seen the movie.
Don't you do it!
You've seen a lot of movie explosions before, so we wanted to find something unique. So we set up this little chute with a medium-sized aquarium. This is a 3D model of the actual mountain that they dropped the coaxium in. So then we could actually put a little firecracker on here and explode it. In fact, the most interesting part of this explosion happens in less than 1/100th of a second. And when you shoot at really high-speed photography, you get these beautiful explosions that not only explode out, but they also implode back in. But we were going for all of the complex interactions you get in real life. It's much more fun to blow stuff up for real.
Yeah, the fact that this explosion was practical, and ever put a firecracker in water?
No.
It has a very interesting ripple effect.
That we saw.
And like a big bubble. Yeah, as a kid, we experimented with firecrackers all the time.
Really?
Yeah,
in water?
Yeah, but if you don't put the wick underwater...
You boys.
Oh, I know, we blow things up, okay? And I'm sure these effects guys did the same thing when they were kids, and they just filed that back in their cranial archives and said, someday this is going to all make sense. And the fact that I blew off a pinky finger, you know what? It'll all pay off when I work on Solo.
Them. Okay,
no, not
you.
me.
I was like, I don't remember you not having a pinky.
I was more careful.
Yes, you were.
So the fact that this coaxium explosion was a real underwater explosion is fantastic. And I do recall when we first saw it, it's like, wow, that explosion is beautiful. And it mirrored, for me, the effect of seeing the asteroid explosion from Attack of the Clones.
Right.
From the seismic charges.
Oh, right. Well, I just love, not only do we get the heist scene here, but they're talking about the time, right before the heist when they're talking in the dark, by the campfire and everything.
They're all sharing their stories.
Yeah, sharing their stories. And this was all filmed in the Dolomites, which is a northern Italy mountain range that's, basically attached to the Austrian Alps because Austria and Italy share that border. And it was neat to hear them talking about how it kind of brought them all together because they had to hike up to these locations. They couldn't just be plopped down or, arrive on set. They had to do some work to get there. So it all brought them together. And the fact that it was the Alps, it's like, oh, yay. I just love it.
And this was really the first mention of a Star Wars Holiday Special connection. Because Chewie says that he wants to get back to his family.
Oh, right.
Oh, I squealed. I squealed big time at that. And in a few minutes, we'll go into another Star Wars Holiday Special connection. Now, one of the things that really surprised me about this featurette was knowing that Rio was a little circus woman in that costume.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was all digital. But the fact that she was jumping around and leaping around... And Rio had these 4 arms, so it didn't need a co-pilot. He could do the whole thing himself. And then how Jon Favreau's performance, his facial performance and his vocal performance really brought that character to the circle being complete as a complete character.
All right, talk to me. Is it a good day?
Another challenge to the train heist is that Rio is part practical and part CG.
On set, we had an actress actually in a costume. She's a circus performer, and it just made her perfect to perform this role. And then what we would do is then match move her performance, and then animators would then add their performance on top of that. Sometimes we'll completely reanimate it, and other times we'll just replace the heads. And he's being voiced by Jon Favreau. As much as possible, we'd like to stick with Favreau's performance and face. It really brings out his character when you get his little quirks and stuff that he does. His improv skills really lend themselves to this kind of fun character.
It was just talk. I didn't think you were listening. I was just trying to impress the ladies. I was bending to peer pressure.
Thinking about opening a cantina somewhere warm, but not too warm, you know?
AT haulers actually have 2 seats. You've got the pilot and the co-pilot, and he doesn't need them because he's got 4 arms. He can do it all himself. So he's pretty much a self-contained pilot and co-pilot, which makes him super effective for the train sequence.
Yeah, it's nuts!
I was just upset that they didn't make the connection to Rio Durant's name, and I just want to hear Ron Howard say, yeah, I'm a big Duran Duran fan.
Aww.
And I got his name from Duran Duran's second album, Rio. Duran Duran for me is second only to the Monkees.
Yep. Really?
Oh yeah. Oh, big time.
I thought they were neck and neck for you, but now I know.
The Monkees had the added bonus of having a TV show.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right, now let's move on to what I consider my favorite of the featurettes, Team Chewy. See what it's like to bring your favorite Wookiee to life and this look behind the scenes. Or should I say behind the fur?
This movie's a chance to understand Chewie as a unique individual who chooses Han Solo as Han chooses Chewie.
Never in my mind was Chewie subservient to Han. It's always been a partnership. And Han is really Chewie's sidekick as much as Chewie is Han's.
We couldn't have done this maybe like one at a time?
When I first started shooting, they told me it was a love story between 2 people who don't yet know they're going to end up with each other. And of course, we're talking about Han and Chewie.
All right, so what was your favorite part about this scene, Richard?
All right, now in this scene, we have a Star Wars Holiday Special connection where the writers say, well, we had to have Chewbacca say lines so the actors will know what to play off of, so we wrote Chewbacca's dialogue in the script. And when Han Solo says to Chewie, so what's your name anyway? And Chewbacca replies. And what we see in the script is that Chewbacca is saying his name, Chewbacca, son of Adachuk, who is Itchy from the Holiday Special.
Introducing Chewbacca's family. His father, Itchy.
Oh! Wow.
Oh, my heart was aflutter.
Oh, that's so cute.
So you know what this means with all these Holiday Special connections we're getting with books and the films now? It's coming. We're going to see a resurgence of the Star Wars Holiday Special, and we will be on the forefront.
And Hoojibs.
And Hoojibs, yes. Hashtag make Hoojibs canon.
Woo! Okay, well, my favorite part from this was actually learning that they recorded some extra dialogue for Chewie in the form of bears and seals.
Yeah, and this was, to me, the most important fact of this. Even more important than mentioning Adachuk.
Really?
Because in The Force Awakens, they replayed the same 8 Chewbacca sounds we've heard over and over again.
Right.
And it didn't seem like it seemed like Chewbacca was more of an afterthought in his dialogue. And whenever Chewie would growl, it's like, okay, we heard that in The Empire Strikes Back. When Lando comes in the holding cell, we hear this in Star Wars when they're on the Death Star and Chewbacca is chasing away the little mouse droid. So you can almost pinpoint every time you hear Chewbacca's growl. But we saw Solo, it really stuck out to me that, hey, we're hearing some new sounds here. They really went above and beyond for Chewbacca. And I was extremely, extremely happy because once again, like I was saying before, now Chewbacca is more of a fully rounded character. And I think having new dialogue and new speech patterns really helps pay that off.
He's introduced as a man-eating beast with this massive roar. Of course, has to sound like Chewbacca, but that doesn't exist. The main recording of Chewbacca is a bear that Ben Burke, the original sound designer, recorded many, many years ago. But because the original bear only made so many sounds, Chewbacca's vocabulary has always been a little bit limited. So we spent an afternoon recording this massive grizzly bear who was just hungry all the time. And if you would simply show him food, he got very excited. And if you didn't give him the food right away, he would let you know. So we were able to get a really quite extensive palette of new bear vocals. And we also recorded quite a few other animals. Deep guttural pieces that were used occasionally in the giant roar for Chewbacca. That were not in the exact range as Chewbacca, but with a little bit of manipulation, I was able to create a new set of Chewbacca sounds.
Hey! Okay, take it easy.
Okay, my favorite part was when they talked about how they got new bear noises. I love how they would just show food to a hungry bear and he'd go crazy.
That works on me too.
I know. That's awesome. I love it.
They were talking about making Chewbacca all muddy for the mud battle with Haand. I felt so bad for Jonas hearing that they added all the mud and the dreadlocks and everything else to poor Chewie, and it made the costume like 6 times heavier. So, geez, I mean, moving around with that thing on must have been horrible. I think he talks in there a little bit about how hard it was, with the headpiece and having all this on your shoulders and how hard that was.
Most challenging was definitely the mud pit.
We've never done anything like this with Chewbacca before. He's always been clean, dry. We did some tests with some different types of mud. We bought some Dead Sea mud packs in and started playing around with the suits and just putting some of that in and putting some dreadlocks in, and it was just caked. And the whole thing weighed probably 6-7 times what it normally would as a dry Chewbacca suit.
Chewie's legs would be covered in this thick mud. So we had to go to the Wookiee wash to get off that mud. Having something that heavy and having to be in weird positions, that was difficult. I was so happy when we got through that scene.
Yeah, but he's a very young guy.
Yeah.
And he's an athlete, so it was probably something, another day at the park.
Right?
Another day at the mud park.
But still, that's a lot of weight on your back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's young. And he's now Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Remember what he was saying at the press conference before he got the role? He was living on his girlfriend's couch and, didn't really have much of a direction in life.
Yeah.
So now, if Ron Howard asks you to get in the mud on a very heavy Wookiee costume, you say yes. And this was the featurette that showed Chewbacca behind the scenes, working out, curling weights, punching the punching bag, and ruining gym equipment.
Yeah.
And we didn't see Eunice. We saw Chewbacca.
Mm-hmm.
And this really, really cements the fact that maybe it wasn't Eunice. Maybe it really was Chewbacca.
Well, of course, Richard.
We see that I posted a video that I got from somewhere on our Facebook page and group, Chewbacca playing with kittens.
Yeah, that was adorable.
All right, now let's move on to Becoming a Droid L337.
Yes, this is when we get to meet the newest droid and the talented actor who helps bring her to life.
Just keep your pinky on the yoke and try not to mess anything up.
L3 is a droid who truly has a mind of her own. When she thinks somebody needs to be taken down a notch, she decides that that's her mission.
You done flirting? I'm still ready.
I didn't know that Phoebe Waller-Bridge was in that costume the whole time.
So I love the fact that, we get this suit and, they use a lot of her practical footage, but then it's mixed together with the visual effects. So, her performance is her performance.
A lot of times for these kind of things, it'll be somebody else in the suit who's used to wearing all this gear and heavy costuming pieces.
Okay.
But it was actually her in that suit. And maybe she had said, hey, you know what? I want to do this. And I think it's very important for me to be in that scene so these actors can relate to how I'm going to be.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think a lot of her lines were probably improv.
She's actually the sound that you hear of the Nava computer. That's L3. So now you know that she's integrated into the ship, and when you hear that sound, you know that that's L3.
We had this idea that the sound effects that were created for the original Millennium Falcon back in the 70s, I wanted to have used in her being. There's a moment when she's starting to calculate something, and Lando's like, are you ready?
Let me know when you're ready to jump.
And she hits her head, and she is the Nava computer. That is what powers that ship in New Hope.
Okay.
So we wanted her sound effects to get put in there when he's like, she's part of the ship now. We wanted to have that connective tissue.
That was the best callback in Solo.
It's awesome.
And I didn't know that she was a droid that's always building onto herself. And you know what? I'm kind of embarrassed about this, but I didn't notice that her arms are astromech legs.
Oh,
I don't know how I missed that detail.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed in you.
I'm going to go sit in the corner after we're done.
Well, okay, so my favorite part, when she walks across the bridge
From the lodge.
From the lodge, yeah. And she's got like this swagger going on in the film. They had to remove her legs, like her droid legs, obviously. And so she was wearing heels so she would be the right height. And And so, because she was in the heels, she's walking like a lady walks in heels. So I always wondered why she was swaggering there, and now we know.
A great character, and I'm so glad they're bringing her back also in novels.
Oh yeah, and Last Shot, I mean, her character, it's like really fleshed out, and I have so much more respect for her, for this character, L3.
And I'm very glad that they really focused on L3 in Phoebe Waller-Bridge, because so much went into bringing this character to life and her attitude that she really needed a spotlight moment, and she got it.
I'm so glad we took this job!
Now, let's move on to Scoundrels, Droids, Creatures, and Cards. Welcome to Fort Ipso.
Yes, this is where we take an in-depth tour of the rough and tumble bar, where strangers mix and gamblers risk all in the legendary card game, Sabacc.
The Lodge. It's my favorite because it's the heart of the world of what this story is, and it's also the heart of the Han Solo character, where he belongs, which is a tough, seedy bar with a lot of shady characters and that kind of cowboy feeling to it.
Fort Ipso is really a stage on which two of your most interesting characters will come together for the first time.
Now, since when was it called Fort Ipso? Lisa, you saw the movie 20 times. Was it ever mentioned in the film?
Yes. When they're Han and Beckett and Chewie are trudging through the snow, and Han says to him, so, where are we going to find Dryden? Is he going to be up, Fort Ipso? They do mention Fort Ipso. I can't remember the exact line, but Han does say Fort Ipso.
Okay, I just never connected that to this location.
Well, they've always called it the Lodge.
Okay.
Huh. We're all learning something new.
Yeah.
I love the fact that this was a practical set, and in this featurette, they give you a great view of this practical set. And I think this is something they should have done with Maz Kanata's castle in The Force Awakens, because we never really got a good look at the set dressing and the creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I might be wrong about that. There could be something out there that I don't know about, and if there is, please, Skywalkers, tweet at us or put it on Facebook, please. But I love the fact that you see all these big giant skulls that we do see in the film, but they're buried in the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really hoping that some of these creatures were creatures we had seen before. Like, I would love to have seen a Tauntaun skull or a Bantha skull, or maybe something like an Acklay or a Reek.
No, but instead you get a Cordiox skull.
Right, but where have we seen a Cordiox before?
I don't know. Apparently they live on this planet. So that's the skulls we see.
Right, but I'm talking, I want to see some Easter eggs, some callbacks here.
Okay.
I don't want to see a Jackson or a Gungan skull.
No, that'd be bad.
It'd be very, very, very bad.
But one thing I loved about this view that we get of this set is we see all of this, and it really gave me this feeling of Gaston's Tavern with all the lights on. You have the Cordiox skulls hanging on the walls, just like you have the deer heads hanging on the walls. You have brown wood finishing. You have low hanging lanterns. It's like, wow. But I thought it was totally Gaston's Tavern for me.
The Lodge, I loved the Lodge. I thought it was awesome. And talking about what it reminds you of, when I was growing up, my parents used to take me out to dinner to a restaurant called Come Back Inn. And it was very much like this lodge. It was very dark. The lighting in that was very shadowy. And they had taxidermied animals up on the walls. And everything was this really heavy duty wood, and the tables were so the first time I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, I used to eat at this place all the time. That's what it reminds me. Sadly, the restaurant is no longer open, but that was the first thing that I remembered. Was like, oh my gosh, somebody must have visited Come Back in Illinois at some point. And it was an inspiration for the lodge, because that's the first thing I went back to was that restaurant.
Maybe the cinematographer Bradford Young had been in there and said, I'm going to put this one in my back pocket too. I love the way he lit this set, that it wasn't perfectly lit where you could see everything clearly, but everything is falling into shadows. Even the actors are falling into shadows. And you just know that right around the corner is going to be a book, The Art of Han Solo, or the Han Solo Visual Dictionary. They'll break everything down.
Well, yeah, Neil Scanlon even talks about how the composition of the sabak table setting specifically, that it's inspired from historical paintings where you have these shadows, you have these characters kind of partly
fading off into the background.
Exactly. Because as a painter, you don't want to paint all that detail.
The inspiration for the characters around the sabak table comes from historical paintings, very much the composition. These characters around the table, and many of them sort of just fall into the background, into the shadow. And so we maquetted, essentially what we did was we took all of those paintings and we substituted the humans for aliens, at the same proportions as a maquette and photographed that from exactly the same angle. And from that, the choices were made at the type of alien that should sit somewhere. And someone like this creature, for instance, is there because she occupies the same space. The big eye that sits at the back and looks over also occupies the same space as several human beings do in this picture who are just leering from outside the shadows.
What time period would you call that?
Oh, it's Renaissance.
Yeah, there you go. The Renaissance feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go into the rules of sabak, and that there was a sabak champion there.
Well, yeah, a person whose job was it to figure out, okay, these are the rules of sabak. This is how you play it. And they had to figure out, they had to design this game that is like so, for 40 years has been so iconic.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
This is the first time we've seen sabak. It's gone through a large amount of development, coming up with the actual methodology of the game.
Our graphic design team came up with the whole idea of the card game. Sabak is played by 8 people, so it became an 8-sided table.
One for you, one for me, one for you, one for me. Each player gets dealt 2 cards. The object of the game is to get as close to 0 as possible. The red cards are worth like a negative number, and the green cards are positive numbers. So the dice get rolled again. Nothing matters there. So then at the end of every round, the last thing is that you roll the dice. If the dice pictures match, that means you have to discard your hand and get a new one, which keeps things pretty crazy when you're playing sabak. What's that worth? That's the 8. That's the 8. And the one with the star is a 7, right? I think I just told you what I've got. Well, there we go.
And it does work. It does actually work.
Sabak? Sabak? Sabak. I've heard great things about sabak.
I'm not sure any viewers would go, wait a minute, he's holding 3 cards. He should be holding 2 cards because 2 plays ago, But once again, I can't reiterate this enough that I love the attention to detail in these Star Wars films. That's a game that I've never learned how to play.
No. Apparently you can though, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, they sell sabak cards.
Oh, geez.
And at the last celebration...
Well, what are we doing sitting here?
People were recording the segment.
Okay.
Last celebration, they had sabak matches.
Oh, that's right.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
But unless it's on an iPad or an iPhone,
I'm not sure
we'll ever get to it.
No practical things for us.
Yeah. All right, now let's move into the maelstrom, the Kessel Run.
So here is where we get to join Haand and Chewy at the controls of the Millennium Falcon for the first time. They're co-piloting together, and we see how this legendary moment in Star Wars history unfolds.
The only known source of astatic coaxium is a fissure vent beneath the spice mines on Kessel.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
We're making the Kessel Run.
And what if I don't elect to go to Kessel?
This is the ship that made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. That is a nonsensical statement. A parsec is a unit of distance, not a unit of speed. So what did he mean when he said that?
I was actually surprised to learn that Ron Howard was the one who suggested the sea monster because he was thinking of Jules Verne books. It seems like that's something they would have been conceptualizing and developing much earlier in the filming process. So I wonder how it was originally thought of. Like, was he just going to get to the midpoint and then shoot out or something? I'm not sure. So yeah.
Well, he goes into how this really resembles the seafaring adventures.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I love about the Kessel Run is the parallel that it has with so many seafaring adventures.
Jules Verne was the term the Kasdans often used as it related to the Kessel Run and the obstacles that they were facing. We wanted mystery, we wanted surprises.
It's right out of one of those stories. A giant clipper ship going into a storm and avoiding icebergs.
Ron Howard, it's like, I love the Kessel Run, but it feels like it might be too familiar. Can we add a monster?
Right as they emerge from the hurricane, suddenly there's a sea monster.
Eyeball!
Ron Howard didn't want this to feel too familiar, so he said, okay, throw in a monster. Oh, and they did. Have they ever given this monster a name?
They did, and it's a hyphenated name, and I think the first part of it is Summa, S-U-M-M-A, and then hyphen, and I think the second part begins with an M, but I can't remember what it is.
All right, I just looked it up. It's Summa Verminoth.
There you go.
Summa Verminoth.
Yeah. Verminoth?
Verminoth.
Weird. What the heck? Well, all I know is it's what did you call it, Richard? The Octo Monster?
The Octo Monster.
Because it's a cross between a jellyfish and a squid with the mouth of a snapping turtle. That's pretty cool. Now all I will see is this snapping turtle mouth whenever I see this film. I think that's cool.
Yeah. Now, one of the most interesting parts of this is showing how they put up these 4K screens all around the cockpit and with projectors everywhere to show the actors what we be seeing in the final film. I think it's just an extraordinary way to go, and I've never seen this happening unless it was rare screened in the old days.
Right. Well, I mean, partly why they did that is because then the light is reflecting off the actors' faces and all the controls.
And plus, you want to get the actors' real emotions.
Yeah.
And seeing in their faces what is really, really happening.
Yeah, and as Lando described, when you do the hyperspace switch, and all of a sudden the stars go to hyperspace, for a second he actually felt like he was jumping into hyperspace.
Yeah, and you're just not going to get that same reaction. Even if you look at the Star Wars films, they go to hyperspace and they're all just sitting there.
Yeah, yeah, you don't get that moment. I think what you actually tweeted, Lisa, was that now you have Han Solo falling in love with this Falcon and going into space. Yeah. You don't have that moment in the original films. So
right, that's actually my favorite scene when they first go into and hit light speed, and you see Lando and L3 at the controls, and then the camera slowly pans over to Han Solo, and you just see him in profile, and just the look on his face is just beautiful as he sees they go into hyperspace and all the stars just blur and everything else. It's my favorite moment of the entire movie.
Absolutely. I mean, he's falling in love right there.
Yeah, he's finding his place in the galaxy.
Yeah.
And I really hope they do this with not just future Star Wars movies, but future films. Because this goes above and beyond just acting to nothing, because now you're reacting to what you really would be reacting to.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering, do you think that they would do this for Galaxy's Edge?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, please.
I think they're going to move this technology to
sense.
Galaxy's Edge. It makes a whole lot of sense. Almost like Soren at DCA.
Yeah, where you have that giant screen, but then you'll be kind of enclosed.
Yeah, so you won't see the top and bottom of the screen.
Well, it's also like, what is it? In Universal, the Simpsons ride.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same thing. But hopefully the screen will be much better and encompass you much more.
You won't see the seam lines.
Yes.
But yeah, if they do have this technology, which I would bet the moisture farm they will, you'll never be able to get me out of there.
No.
Never.
No. We'll be there every day.
Yeah, and I think it'll go just beyond the Millennium Falcon. We'll see that in different parts of the park just to really fully immerse you into this world.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that kind of cracked me up was when they were talking about how they made the look of the coaxium as it's starting to, get too hot. And the one guy, I drawn a blank on the guy's name, but he said that they had seen a video of somebody dropping gummy bears into some sort of acid and they melted. And I remember seeing that video on YouTube a couple of years ago.
Coaxium canisters are about to explode, so that was really fun, trying to figure out what's the sound of these just decaying metal canisters. And I saw this video on YouTube years ago of somebody dropping a gummy bear into potassium chlorate, and it causes the gummy bear to sort of spontaneously combust. And so we ordered some potassium chloride, and we dropped gummy bears and gummy worms into these things, and they scream and spit, and just this really terrifying sizzle of this thing, like just about to explode at any moment.
So it's just sort of funny that they took the inspiration from something so simple to use it in a Star Wars movie. I got a kick out of that.
And do you know who originally had done that? A boy.
Yeah. Boys. Absolutely. They wanted to hear the terrifying sound of a gummy bear dissolving. Wow.
You'll never look at gummy bears or worms the same way again.
No.
All right, well, that about wraps up all of the bonus features that we were given on Solo: A Star Wars Story. So now let's wrap up by giving our final thoughts on everything as a whole. Lisa?
Very happy. I was very happy with my theatrical experience seeing Solo, and I'm very happy with my sitting at home on the couch experience watching Solo. It's been a wonderful revelation to me, discovering this character that I've known my whole life but never really cared about, and now Han Solo is one of my favorite characters. It's just neat to get a whole new perspective on Star Wars from a film I wasn't even that excited about at the beginning. So it's just, this whole experience has been really, really amazing.
Awesome. That's so good to hear. I mean, I, like your friend, Han Solo is my favorite, and Harrison Ford is the bomb. So,
well, I think if you tweeted that out to Ron Howard, he'd be very, very happy. And
well, I know.
Wow, I can turn someone around on this.
Well, I know, like Lisa on Instagram, Ron Howard has been like liking some of your stuff, right?
He's been stalking me.
Yeah. So tell everyone your Instagram name so they can go see.
I am Jedi Pug 1 on Instagram. And I'm also Jedi Pug 1 on Twitter.
And then what has been your interactions with him?
Back in May, after I went to the press screening, he posted something on Instagram, and I commented that I had just come from seeing Solo at a press screening, and I told him how much I love the movie, and he responded that he was really happy to hear that. And then the last few days, I've been posting some stuff on Instagram, and I've been tagging Solo: A Star Wars Story and Alden Ehrenreich and Han Solo. And so I don't know what tag he's looking at, because clearly he's scrolling through tags looking, stuff about his movie. And it's usually like in the middle of the night, and I get up in the morning and I get a notification, Ron Howard liked your... So it was like twice within 3 days I got 2 likes from Ron Howard.
Woohoo!
So it's all been on Instagram. I've reached out to him on Twitter, because I don't know that he knows... Well, the last post that he liked was about a blog that I just wrote about seeing Solo 20 times. So I don't know if he actually made the connection or even read my blog, which would be awesome. If he did, he didn't say anything. But yeah, that's, so I would love for him to know that I saw it so many times, but I haven't gotten any response from him about that.
That's awesome, though. And for you, I know Solo kind of just broke the mold for you. So where does it stand in your Star Wars movie lineup?
It's my favorite.
Wow.
Wow, tweet that one out
gosh.
too.
That's a tall order too, because of nostalgia. I mean, for all of us.
Yeah. Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, don't ask me that same question. Because
I won't. I won't. I know not to ask you.
It's like naming your favorite kids.
Yeah, I know. So, Richard,
or bunnies.
Did you have any final thoughts? And then I have one thing I'd like to say.
You know me. I got plenty of final thoughts.
So say a couple of them, and then I'll say mine.
Okay. I'm very happy with what they gave us. They covered a lot of ground. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, but I'm of the belief that there's going to be another addition, another follow-up to this, where they will give us some bloopers, some featurettes that don't just deal with behind the scenes, but we see more into how these characters developed, how Han went from what we saw here, when he's all full of hope and got a good feeling about things, to the cynic who always had a bad feeling.
Okay.
I want to see a little something more on Kira, but I know with Kira it's going to be a little bit harder because I know they want to expand on her with other mediums.
Right.
But let's just deal with Han Solo. So more of a featurette on him. I really wanted to see more on the spice mines of Kessel. After 41 years, ever since C-3PO said it in Star Wars.
They're heading in this direction. What are we going to do? We'll be sent to the spice mines of Kessel or smashed into who knows what.
I think that we should know a little bit more about behind the scenes of the spice mines of Kessel scenes. And really, maybe I just want to see more of our friend Details.
Yes.
Who plays Quay Tulsite.
He's a big part of those scenes.
Yeah. And maybe even to see some footage without his mask on, just so he can say, "Oh, there I am, right there."
Yeah.
But it's the Spice Mines of Kessel, so I don't know why they glossed over such an important location.
They're probably holding back for a bigger, better, badder version of this release.
Right.
All right. Well, I have a note, and that is to make sure in this hour-and-a-half featurette that you watch the end credits, because as you watch, you hear a romantic version of Haand's theme, which you don't hear, at least in the soundtrack. And as far as I know, it's not in the film, but it's like a slowed down version, just kind of like Leia's theme has that beautiful slowed down version to it. You know, Haand's theme, oh my gosh, it's utterly beautiful, and I wish it was in the film. So definitely make sure you listen to the end credits, everyone, and we'll play it here for you.
Now, there's one special feature we didn't get into, and that's because it's going to be a Target exclusive with their release, and that's the Millennium Falcon from Page to Park.
Ooh.
And this is where you do go into Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but, you need a digital code from the Target store release.
Okay.
Lisa, you haven't seen this, have you?
I have the Target exclusive on pre-order.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't going to get the digital release, and a friend of mine was kind enough to get the digital release for me as a gift. Sent it to me, so that's how I got that. But yeah, I was just going to wait for the Blu-ray. So I will have access to that Target exclusive, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you got to tell us all about that, because I'm really excited to see that. Or we'll just have to go down to Target and buy our own copy.
Yes.
All right, now, to put a cap on this, I would give this 4 3/4 Wookiee hugs out of 5.
I think I will give it 4.5 Wookiee hugs out of 5 because it doesn't contain a music featurette.
I'd probably say 4.5. Yeah, as well. Wookiee hugs.
Okay.
I would give it a 5, but I want my bloopers.
I know.
All right, Lisa, now tell all the Skywalkers out there where they can find you and your buddy Ron Howard on social media.
Well, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at JediPug1, and I'm also on Facebook, so you can look me up there. And I also I do some work for Coffee with Kenobi. I'm the senior editor and social media strategist. And my email address there is lisad@coffeewithkenobi.com. And that's where you can find the blog that I just wrote as well. So throw that out there. It's 20 reasons why I saw Solo 20 times. Although there are hundreds of reasons why I saw Solo, but I narrowed it down to 20.
Excellent.
Great. All right. Well, you Skywalkers, you can now download Solo, A Star Wars Story digitally, or you can wait to buy a hard copy on September 25th.
Or do both.
Gotta support Solo.
Woohoo! All right. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm Lisa Dullard, and I am with Coffee with Kenobi, and I'm also on social media at JediPug1 on Twitter and Instagram. And I love everything about Star Wars. Everything about it makes me happy, and it's been my life for over 40 years, and I couldn't imagine living without it.
Shout-outs, Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout-out. Who was photobombed? Shout-out. Who was shared a post? Shout-out.
We want to give a big shout-out to the Chickafants, who, if you have been following them, they have been on Disney cruises.
Yes.
A Halloween Disney cruise. We're very jealous.
Yeah, to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of our cruise last year, they went on a cruise.
Yeah, thanks. And all we got back was this postcard.
Which is much, much appreciated.
Very appreciated.
Yeah, we're so happy for them.
I know. Oh, it's so much fun.
And not at all jealous.
So we want to give them a shout out. And should we read this?
Yeah, let's go ahead and read that.
Okay. It says, Sarah and Richard, we wanted to send some positive energy and happy vibes your way. Since you've had a crazy busy summer and more house drama than you ever could have expected, we hope things are getting back to normal for you. Thanks for continuing to share your positivity throughout it all. Signed, all the M's plus Chickafin. Yay!
Well, thank you very much. And once again, so happy that you're getting out there on the high seas again.
Yeah.
Especially
Exciting.
The Halloween cruise.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, well, I have another shout out.
Okay.
It kind of branches off this. You know, the Chick events mention our house drama. And so I have a new obsession that has to do with getting our house back in order. And we have Bryn McKinnon to thank for this. So shout out to Bryn, because she now has me deeply obsessed with Spireside candles. Now, it all began when she gave me a candle called Rapunzel's Tower for my birthday last year. And this is like a 3-layer candle with like scents of clean river water, a lavender, and some florals in there, as well as magnolia blossoms too. So I had it in my office and I loved the scent. Now, as our rooms were gradually getting better, so like especially our bathroom, our mermaid bathroom.
Oh, show
was
the
becoming,
face huggers.
I will.
Oh, sorry.
But especially our mermaid bathroom was being complete. I'm telling a story here.
I just want to smell the candles.
All right. So with our new mermaid bathroom nearing completion, I kind of wanted a fun beachy scent to put in there. And I just, in general, we love having candles throughout the house. I mean, Richard, you love what scents?
The Christmas tree pine scent.
Yeah, pine scent,
pumpkin
right.
scent.
We love pumpkins, like apple,
Peppermint.
anything. Fall is like, we want fall scented candles. Anyway, well, I remembered Spireside because Bryn had given me this Rapunzel's Tower candle and found that they had at least 2 mermaid scents. So here, if you're on Facebook Live right now, they have Sun-Soaked Shores. And these candles are awesome because they're in these little jars that have artwork on them. And the artwork is beautiful. It's basically Ariel, and she's sitting on the shore. It's adorable. And then, so Sun-Soaked Shores and The Littlest Mermaid. They have a candle called The Littlest Mermaid. And when you go online to Spireside, they kind of have reviews because they don't really tell you what the scents are. I mean, you can kind of get the idea, but they have reviews from people who are like, oh, you put these scents together and they smell amazing, which they were right because I totally got these. And one smells like warm, like beach sand, and the other smells more like salty sea. And together, they just smell amazing. They really smell amazing. And with that also, this order, I also ended up getting Fairest Orchard, which has a beautiful picture of, it's supposed to be Snow White, obviously. Snow White and her forest friends. And it's just this lovely apple scent. And I also got Beauty Sleep, which is, of course, their Sleeping Beauty scent. And this has, like, notes of lavender and floral. And I've been putting this every night on before we go to bed, and it's so relaxing. And I've had, like, the best sleep ever since turning this candle on at night. It's amazing. So, I am totally recommending Spireside candles. And, I mean, I'm so recommending it that I even put it on our website. So, like, if you go to SKYwalkingThroughNeverland.com and you look on the right side widgets, there's a link for 15% off your Spireside candle order, and which is helpful because each candle is about like 15 to 18, and they also have room scents and stuff that's cheaper. It's not cheap, but it's totally worth it for hours and hours of lovely scents. You know, they're soy, they're very good, very high quality. And what's really fun is they have other scents too that are like remind you of Disney parks. So they have Ghostly Castle, which is, of course, the Haunted Mansion. And they have Pirate's Revenge, which is your Pirates of the Caribbean ride scent. And Pineapple Delight, which is like Dole Whip. And there's like so many more. They even have like a Soarin' one, which is like orchards or orange something. So, yeah, it's super cool. So, once again, if you want to try these candles, you can head to SKYwalkingThroughNeverland.com and click on the picture of Spireside candles. And 15% off, which is the most I've ever seen. If you follow them on Instagram, that's the most I've ever seen off. So, yay. So, I'm talking them up because it's awesome.
Oh, you believe in the product.
I do.
And it's a good product, too.
It really, oh, and yeah, in fact, they do stuff like they respond really quick on Facebook. And Richard, you love the pine scent, and I couldn't find anything on their website with that scent. So I asked them, do you guys have anything pine scented? And they're like, oh, just buy a candle and put in the comments you want Sherwood Forest instead. Because they make these candles to order. And I was like, oh, okay. And how good is Sherwood Forest?
Oh, it smells like the Christmas season is upon us in my office.
Yay. So, yay. Fireside candles. Woohoo.
All right. Well, you're excited about that. You know what I'm excited about?
What?
This week's Skywalker of the Week.
Who is it?
Kurt the Nerd. Kurt the Nerd. Kurt the Nerd.
Congratulations, Kurt, who tweeted out, still the best podcast in the universe, hashtag may the force be with you always. Aww.
A comment like that will get you the Skywalker of the Week.
I know, he randomly tweeted that out. It was so cool. So thank you, Kurt.
And
we really appreciate it.
Right? Yeah, we do. Now, if anyone else wants to become Skywalker of the Week, Sarah, what do they do?
Well, Rob Dellinger composes these amazing jingles. And so what you have to do is just tweet out, hey, love Skywalking Through Neverland, tag us at Skywalking Pod, or you can Instagram that or whatever. Just make sure you tag us at Skywalking Pod, and that way we will see it, and you might get chosen to be the Skywalker of the Week and get your very own jingle by Rob Dellinger.
The John Williams of podcasting. And to hear more about Rob Dellinger and where he's going to be performing, go over to alpharhythmkings.com. So look up his tour dates, go out and meet Rob, and maybe recommend or shout out from the audience, we want to hear a Skywalker of the Week!
Yay!
Play your new Star Wars Celebration jingle! He loves it when you call out a Skywalker jingle to him.
Skywalking Shout-Outs!
Things we want to share!
Woohoo!
So go out there and meet Rob. But for right now, Sarah, let's go ahead and meet our new contributing writer to Skywalking Through Neverland, Eric Onkenhaut.
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We would like to introduce everyone to guest writer Eric Onkenhaut. Eric just wrote a great in-depth review of Solo, a Star Wars story, which can be found on skywalkingthrough-neverland.com.
Eric joined us on our 2017 year-end wrap-up, if he sounds familiar, and he is here with us now.
Hey, Eric!
Hey, Richard and Sarah. How are you guys doing?
We are doing well, and we want to take this time to welcome you to the Skywalking Through Neverland team, and it's great to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's exciting to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah, when we were talking to you back in December during our roundtable, you really had a good sense of story and writing. And I thought, someday when we launch our own network, I gotta keep Eric in the back pocket there. We're gonna want this young man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, in fact, your Solo review, it was extremely well written and it had great style. So are you a self-taught writer, or what is your writing background?
A little bit of both, I guess. I mean, I kind of fooled around with fan fiction back in the 90s, like in my early 20s.
Nice.
I was really into that X-Wing computer game, and I'm like, I want to write something about this game, and I'm just going to make up my characters. I don't know if you guys remember iJedi. Came out in like 1998.
Yeah.
I remember when that book came out, I thought they stole my story.
Oh no!
But I'm like, I guess I'll leave it. I'll leave it to them this time.
Is there a pending lawsuit between you and Disney?
No, I'm not touching that. No. No.
All right, since your fan fiction days, what have you done since the 90s?
I went back to school 5 years ago. I got my bachelor's degree from Southern New Hampshire University for creative writing, and graduated last November. And during, when I was taking classes there, I started blogging, book reviews, comic book reviews, movie reviews. So I write journalistic stuff or fiction, nonfiction. I actually have a technical writing job that I just started back in March.
What kind of things are you writing for that?
I've been at the same company for like 15 years. So, and I was always on the floor, like on the machine. And so when I went back to school, and I knew I was going back to school, and when I graduated, I was like, I'm going to find a job where writing is more involved. And I knew that I was doing that. They kind of sort of created a position for me.
Oh, nice.
So I would stay. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. They asked if I was interested, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So I've been doing that for like the last 5 months or so.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the best things about talking with you right now is I'm feeling a little Bostonian nostalgic.
Yeah.
I know. I've been told I have a strong accent.
Not too strong. Every couple of words here and there.
Yeah, the O's.
Now let's talk about your fandom. What is the hierarchy of your mount fandom?
It's Star Wars, like no contest.
Nice.
There really isn't much else. I kind of think to myself, Star Wars is so huge. It basically takes up all my time and money. I have nothing left to give to anything else.
So basically you have like a big Alps mountain peak of Star Wars, and the rest are like little rolling hills.
Yeah, kind of like those hills in Harry Potter in the Shire.
See, there you go.
Yeah. Harry Potter in the Shire. What?
Well, whatever. You know what I mean.
What are you looking forward to in the upcoming years for Star Wars? We have so much with Episode 9, Resistance, Galaxy's Edge,
There's
the
something
live action shows, more novels,
Everything.
comics.
All of it.
Okay. Well, here's a question. Do you find yourself gravitating more towards the books in Star Wars or the movies or the TV shows? Do you have anything?
Which medium do you prefer?
Yes.
The movies are always number one.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm a bookworm. Like, I've always been a bookworm. So the books are like a close second.
Nice.
And the TV shows are also, I mean, I love it all. I mean, I'm there, like, watching the shows and the movies, and I buy all the books. I read the books, comic books, whatever it is.
What was your entry point into Star Wars?
Oh, boy. See, I like telling the story. So I think it was, I don't know, I was like 6 or 7. I actually remember the first 3 figures I got that my mom bought me. It was a Stormtrooper, Luke Hoth battle gear, and the AT-AT Commander. So I remember playing with the figures before I even saw the movies. This is back in like 81, 82. So that's how my fandom started. I got the toys, I played with them, and then I saw Jedi like when it came out in 83. From that point on, it's been like nonstop. I mean, there was a little bit of a dip, during the late 80s or whatever, but it's been like snowballing ever since Heir to the Empire came out.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
High five.
And that snowball is like as big as the moon.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's no moon. That's Star Wars fandom.
It's like a Hoth-sized snowball.
All right, so what do you have for our Skywalkers in the future?
I'm going to be doing a comic book review coming up with about Vader's Castle for Halloween.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's like a weekly series. Usually, comic books are monthly, but this one's weekly.
And they've timed this just in time for Halloween, or is there a Halloween theme? Are kids trick-or-treating at Vader's Castle?
I just think there's a variety of characters in the series, and I don't know exactly. I think they're all going to somehow end up in Vader's Castle, get kind of like creeped out. I think it's geared towards a younger audience, so it's going to be kind of like, fun to read, but also kind of creepy.
Okay.
I can't wait for this. And honestly, I didn't know this was coming out until you brought it up.
Yeah, they announced it during, I think, San Diego Comic-Con, because I'm always like, I have my ear towards like any book releases or comic book releases. So when I see something, I'm all over it.
Nice.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading these reviews and the comics.
Yeah. So the first one will be out, I think, the first Wednesday in October. And then the last issue is coming out Halloween Day.
Oh, ooh. Nice.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Now, before we go, do you have anything else you'd like to share with the Skywalkers?
Well, you can look me up. I'm Eric the Silent. I'm Eric Onkenhaut on Facebook as well. And I'm Okie75 on Instagram, which was my nickname in high school.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, Eric, thank you very much for coming on and just letting the Skywalkers know who you are, since you got quite a number of things coming up just in October alone. And then the sky's the limit from there, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much material coming out. I mean, it's going to be a lot to write about.
Well, Eric, welcome aboard. It's great to have you.
Woohoo.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, that wraps up our fun-filled episode 225 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
We would like to thank Lisa Dullard, Eric Onkenhaut, and Craig Miller.
And we'd also like to thank all of you Skywalkers for weighing in on our posts and for listening every single week. Now, Skywalkers, here is a reminder, you can be part of the new Skywalking Force starting September 27th. So on September 27th, you can head to skywalkingforce.com if you want more Skywalking Through Neverland in your life and access to exclusively designed t-shirt and swag, and in some cases, free t-shirt and swag. So just head there to skywalkingforce.com. And there are extra incentives if you sign up by October 27th. So check it out now. skywalkingforce.com. Be a part of the Skywalking Force.
And as always, if you want to reach out to us on social media, you can go to @SkywalkingPod for Twitter and Instagram, and go over there to our Facebook group. Love to have you. And like always, if you want to join, you got to answer those 3 simple questions. And right now, there are still a couple of people in there who haven't answered the questions yet. So guess what? Wait's going to be a long time.
Yes, yes. And if you have referred someone to our group, please make sure they answer the questions, because I'm not sure if those questions pop up if you do that. So please do that. And then you can also email us. We are share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
And please, we want to hear your reviews, because we want to hear what you Skywalkers have to say about the show. So go over there to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, and please, please leave us a review. I'm not going to tell you how many stars, what to write, what to say. I'm not going to say keep it positive. Well, keep it family friendly, but say whatever's on your mind.
Now, stay tuned for bloopers and other fun conversation and maybe a Sarah Swears moment after the credits. And always remember...
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said. The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
Skynet. That sounded weird.
Do more of a
Yeah. Okay, I will.
That was a good one. Okay. What do you guys think? Awesome!
And of course, we'll put some sound effects to that. Music.
We just can't use the bump Terminator.
Oh, no, we won't. No, because it's more Disney.
Yeah. So you be in charge of picking out the music for that.
Okay, fun.
Okay.
All right. All right, Skywalkers. Well, now it's time to jump to Lightspeed as we talk Solo with Lisa Dullard, the Solo theatrical viewing champ, and a review of Solo bonus features. And we're going to use yours.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Because that was terrible, and that was written in your voice.
No, that was perfect, sweetie. Everything you do is perfect.
That was written in your voice. I wrote some things in my voice. So
everything you do is perfect.
Okay. And there's at one point where Han Solo or Han Alden is saying how he and Eunice he and Eunice their first scenes together were in the Wookiee den, where they fight, basically.
The underground prison.
The mud pit. Whereas then Ron makes a mention, oh yeah, my first scenes were in the Cape Room on the ship, when George Lucas came. So it's like, oh, look at that. But no mention of the other directors. I'd really love to know more. Before we get into our comprehensive Solo a Star Wars sword.
That was good.
All right, that was nice.
Yeah,
perfect.
That was 11 minutes and 38 seconds.
Wow.
No way.
That's a good
yes.
omen.
Perfect.
That was crazy.
Hey, while we have you on, do you want to record a happy beeps?
Yeah, I love how they described how they used the footage from the actual practical footage, and they kind of melded it together with your visualization. What is it?
Wait, what's the difference between Most Wanted and Last Shot?
So Most Wanted was Han and Kira's story. Last Shot is Lando and L3.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly. I mean, Lando and Han, but Lando and L3 play a big part.
Another part of this I really, really loved was the fact that they honed in on this Six Eyes character at the sabacc table that was sitting next to Han Solo. And this is something that details had gone into, because you're a puppeteer. You got to coordinate 6 eyes. That alone could take 2 weeks to coordinate and rehearse.
Yeah.
Having been a puppeteer in these kind of films before, it's extremely hard to get 4 or 5 or 6 people sometimes to all move in unison.
Right, in a way that looks like fluid for the character.
Exactly, yeah. And you get all these eyes looking this way and that way, and Han says, "Hey, that eye's looking over here."
I know.
I see where that eye's looking.
That's so cute.
Is hysterically funny, and I'm sure most of that were all improv moments.
Definitely.
This is the third time I've been on a podcast, so I'm still kind of a noob when it comes to all this stuff.
Oh.
Who were you first to?
I was on Coffee with Kenobi about a year ago, and I was on Rebel Force Radio a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay. What were you on there talking about?
Rebel Force Radio.
About seeing Solo 20 times. Yeah, I'm a Jimmy. We live in the same area, so we've met each other before, and he just was getting a kick out of me seeing Solo so many times that he had me on to talk about seeing Solo 20 times, and we were on with Jimmy and Paul Bateman, which was nice because I've talked to him before, so that was cool.
There we go. Wow.
All right.
That was almost hard to get through.
I know. Oh, I see you over here.
What a day. You guys are awesome. Awesome. Thank you.